What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Thank you so much for joining us on the Nightly Bag here on Pub Sports Radio. This is our final Nightly Bag here. Starting next week, it'll just be the morning bag for me. And then, of course, we have the 6th season of NFL Pub starting September 13th, Sunday, September 13th. So I'll see you guys every Sunday morning for our 6th season of NFL Pub Hub. I'm pumped up. It appears that the bounce back day that I was so interested in delivering has come to fruition. We have some more still to do, but the Steelers plus 3.5 cashed. Browns plus 2.5 looks good. I don't know if the Raiders are going to take care of business. I still got the Chargers left, and I lost the under in New England, Cleveland. The side breakdowns were strong. In the WNBA, the Valkyries was a smash and grab. Absolute smash and grab. The domination in WNBA continues. So that's 14-2 in our last 16 bets in WNBA. It took a long time to understand. Well, it didn't. But just to explain that when I saw the Liberty minus 1.5, knowing the Valkyries were on the second half of back-to-back, I went to go bet it. I wasn't even thinking. I was like, what? And then you have to sit back and go, every gambler is thinking that. Why would they put it at that line? They're manipulating the market. So that feels good to deliver there. In Major League Baseball, we're 3-2. The fade of Arrighetti was put on a silver platter for us. The Arizona St. Louis first 3 under 2.5 lost. And it wasn't on. Or sorry, that wasn't Arizona St. Louis, right? That was Arizona San Francisco's playing. That was more St. Louis. Was a loser there, which was disappointing. And then Houston, New York first 300 cashed. The Milwaukee, New York Mets first 300 did not. And then the Royals double up did. So we're 3-2. I need the Diamondbacks to take care of business. But we are in business. And we have a massive show here. Massive show for our final nightly bag. And I got to move quickly. I got to be brisk. I was so caught up in building the worksheets for tonight's show that I haven't sat with the information for very long. We have every game in Major League Baseball. Then we're going to go into NFL preseason. In the NFL preseason, we have the 4 games. So NFL preseason, and the other 6 we're going to break down in the morning show. We're not going to touch on these games again. So we have, so the games we have Commanders, Ravens. We have Falcons, Dolphins. We have Texans, Panthers. And we have Giants, Jets. And then tomorrow will be Bucks, Jags, Saints, Cowboys, Cardinals, Packers, Seahawks, Chiefs, Bengals, Eagles, and Vikings, Broncos. Again, we're going to have to move quick. We are capping North Carolina, TCU this evening. And the only game we're capping in WNBA is Tempo Aces. Tempo Aces here. So that's the plan. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We got the nuke worker in the house. Gamma Ray play today's the Bombers. That game will be capped tomorrow. And I'm interested in joining you. I'm very interested in joining you. It's very scary to fade the Alouettes in any form. They're the best team in the CFL by margin. But I'm interested in the Bombers keeping it close after the debacle that the Alouettes just faced against the Red Blacks. So I'm very interested in joining you there. Nuke Worker also has the Low Baggers, the first character from the Low Baggers documentary to have their own cut and their own segment, their own standalone video. The Nuke Worker was chosen, and that's up right now. And I just want the world to see what an incredible guy the Nuke Worker is, and we all know that. All of us have spent so much time with him. Ron Young in the house has 2 him recalled 40 points in the first half of Browns Patriots. Laughing says no, you didn't. Bottom of the ninth bets. We got OG Swag. We got Light Cheese in the house. Mark Stasowski ready to get to work. Ronnie Lofton, it is great to see you. Let's get right to work, and I've got to be very cognizant of the clock here. But thank you guys so much for joining us on our final nightly bag for the foreseeable future. We start at 2:20 p.m. Eastern. Cincinnati Reds 63 and 71, 31 and 35 on the road at the Chicago Cubs 76 and 58, 38 and 27 at home. We are at Wrigley Field in Chicago, Illinois. Let's get right to Wrigley Field. Minus 5% runs, minus 1% homers, minus 6% doubles and triples, and minus 4% singles. You guys know that I'm a believer in Rhett Lauder. 5 and 8, 5.13 ERA, 1.47 WHIP, 5.11 expected ERA. Look, numbers don't help. 83 strikeouts in 107 innings, 43 walks, 15 home runs allowed. His statistical profile is not very appealing. 7th overall pick in the 2023 draft. We, of course, didn't see him pitch last year due to numerous injuries. And there have been a couple times where I thought he would have found himself. Yeah, Sharpie, Chris Sale was spectacular. That first 5, should have been bet even at that expensive price. But even that first 3 under 1.5, seeing it go up to 7 and down to 6.5. But money left on the table. It's not a good feeling. As I said, there's been a couple times where I thought Rhett Lauder turned the corner. And each time, well, there's only been 2. The first time I thought he turned the corner in June, that turned out to be incorrect. He'd come back from the right shoulder discomfort, gave him a couple starts, and he looked like he was starting to deliver, and then he fell off. He was placed into the bullpen. They brought him back after the All-Star break. That first start after the All-Star break, he got annihilated. Then he started pitching at a very high level. The last 2 starts aren't spectacular. 4 earned runs over 6 2/3 at home versus the Cardinals on August 17th, and then Saturday, August 22nd, 3 earned runs over 6 innings in an 11-5 win at Arizona. But he's going deeper into games. 4 of his last 5 starts, he's gone at least 6. He's giving his team a chance to win all of these games, and they've won 4 of his last 5 starts. We have David Peterson on the other side. 7 and 7, 5.17 ERA, 1.50 WHIPs, got a 4.88 expected ERA. And look, he was, I think you can't put a line through what happened in New York. He was pitiful. I said that we could. I said there's a dark cloud following that franchise and we could put a line through it. It was after a solid first start with Cubs, and he immediately allowed 10 earned runs over 3 2/3. Then he started pitching very well. He's pitching well. The Cubs have a lot of options with arms. And after his start August 12th, which wasn't great, he had a really nice start August 6th, but after start August 12th, he went to the bullpen. He didn't start again for 10 days. And he came back, and it was as if that little break, no fatigue whatsoever, he looked really good. Now, that was in Seattle, run-suppressing weather, 2 earned runs over 6 innings. So, what my man Lychees says, although I'm a big believer in CLV, I thank you for teaching me to pause on automatically jumping on an incomprehensible opening line. It's the funnest, probably my favorite part in sports gambling. And it's something that it took reading Kahneman, The Undoing Project, a bunch of different cognitive bias books to understand it. And I trust the books. So it's a fun. Thank you. It's fun. It's very, very fun, Lychees. That's the type of stuff that makes this so much fun. Let's get into the bullpens here. So we've talked about Peterson and Lauder. Cubs bullpen 3.41 ERA, 1.15 WHIP. Reds bullpen 4.13 ERA, 1.33 WHIP. Let's get to the lefties against the Reds. They don't hit them. 234, 627 OPS. They can get on base. They can't do anything with any power. Cubbies versus Reddies, 257, 65 OPS. We know what the Cubbies do with their sticks, and they can manufacture runs. They can hit for power. They're a good ball club. Let's take a look at this line history here for our first game on the card. We have a 15-cent move towards the Cubs from minus 175 to minus 190. That's a pretty dramatic opening line move, 10 cents. We've talked about these dramatic opening line moves, and we have the perfect example on the Thursday card. There was an immediate 20-cent line move to the Houston Astros. It got me off of the Yankees in every way. I did bet the first 3 under 2.5. I should have doubled down on the first 5 under too. We discussed, and after a long time of discussing, and Spooner and Rod Zwacky put it out on the table saying, this line tells us that Wesneski is going to pitch well. That's exactly what happened. Here we've had this immediate 15-cent line move towards the Cubs. So you have to ask yourself then, is this explaining that Peterson's going to pitch very well or that Rhett Lauder is going to get touched? There are not a lot of totals up for this game at this point. They're all 8.5 that I'm looking at, and they're all juiced to the under. Shout out to AOD. And there's Mr. Morgan Spooner right in the house. There he is, Mr. Morgan Spooner. So let's take a look quickly at the price difference, first 5 in full game here. I was so caught up in prepping for baseball that I haven't gone over these things. Now, a lot of times the sharper books are very hesitant to put out totals in the first 5 for Cubbies games, and that's happening here. I'd be curious to see if 365 has put something out. So let's just check them. And no, they haven't even put out. They've only put out a money line. So I think the best thing for us to do right now. I think the best thing for us to do right now is to be patient. I think we need to have all of the information, which we don't have at this point. Sharpie says it could be both. Lauder gets hit and Peterson shoves. Peterson does well versus teams not hitting lefties. Yeah, that's fair. I would like to figure out all these games are like a puzzle, and we try to figure out the puzzle. That 8.5 juice to the under that Circa has clearly is, I think, implying that Peterson pitches well, not necessarily that Lauder is going to get touched up, but both could easily happen, as Sharpie said. Okay, I need more time on Reds Cubs. Need more time. I don't even think a first 3 under 2, and I don't think that there's even a lean at this point. I think we need to let this information marinate. We need to study the market. There's lots of work that still needs to be done. Let's roll on to next spot on the board. Game 2 here for us. 6:40 p.m. Eastern. Scooball comes back to the Motor City. God, doesn't baseball just write the most incredible stories day in and day out, or leave it to sports in general? I mean, you ask me why I haven't watched fiction in, 8 years now? 7, 8 years? What do I care about some story when I got the best stories in the world right here? Scooball comes back to the Motor City. We're in Comerica Park in Detroit, Michigan. Minus 9% runs, minus 22% homers, minus 1% doubles and triples, and plus 4% singles. Wow. So serious run-suppressing weather here. This is tied for the second most run-suppressing environment here. Kuji Cam in the house. What up, Kuji Cam? Let's talk about Tariq. 2.91 ERA, 0.95 whip, 2.94 expected ERA. Sharpie says Scooball has thrown 100-plus pitches 4 times in the last 3 years, 2 of them with the Dodgers. Yeah, he's a rental. No, that's well, yeah, they're going to use him. They are going to use him. It's well put. That's well put. That's an important angle. Let's talk about these 4 starts with the Dodgers. Last start, he goes 7 innings, last 3 earned runs, 11. It started on August 16th. He lost 1 earned run over 6 innings and 6-2 loss at home to the Brewers. He's 2-2. His team is 2-2 when he pitches. Bottom of the 9th says he shoves tomorrow. I mean, that's well within the realm of possibilities. There's no doubt about that. Let's talk about Drew Anderson. 4-5, 4.09 ERA, 1.29 whips. Got a 3.66 expected ERA. 91 strikeouts and 81 in the 30s. He's looked pretty good. When he started on August 5th for the Tigers, it was his longest appearance since May 20th. But he started every game since then, every appearance since then. Wednesday, August 5th, that first one, he went 3 2/3, didn't allow a run, didn't strike any batters out, got a walk. I was surprised when I looked at 91 and 81 in the third. Maybe it's just a bias, but I don't see him striking out a lot of batters. Tuesday, August 11th, the next time we saw him, he allowed 1 earned run over 4 innings at home over the Guardians, so he went a little bit deeper. Sunday, August 16th, 3 earned runs over 5 innings and a 7-5 loss at home versus the White Sox. And then he went 5 again in his last start, 3 earned runs over 5 innings and 3-1 loss at the Royals. I mean, we know, or I shouldn't say we know, but we expect this probably is the most public spot that's going to be on the board tomorrow. Tigers bullpen 3.83 ERA, 1.17 whip. Dodgers bullpen 4.05 ERA, 1.38 whip. Then when it comes to the sticks, Dodgers versus righties 240, 694 OPS. I mean, when have we sat there saying, look, Dodgers don't have power against righties? It's a nice thing to say. It feels great to say it. Tigers versus lefties, 245, 700 OPS. So both teams are hitting for decent average, getting runners on base, and not bringing them home, and not hitting with power. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have a 7.5 juice to the under at minus 120. That was where it opened. There's been no movement. Let's get to the money line here. Money line wise, we have no movement, sitting at minus 205. Sharpie says, when people think Screwball will have some butterflies coming home, I think he wants to stick it in the brass more than anything else. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Maddox tomorrow. You know, I think that this is playoff baseball. I think this game means so much to Screwball. I'm sure the Dodgers want to step up for him, and this game means so much for his teammates, his ex-teammates on the Tigers. I think this game just means a lot to everybody involved. So my first thought is to back the under and to expect not only Screwball to pitch well, but Drew Anderson to be at his best. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this game. I'm not going to need to know all of these games' cash flows, but this one I think will be worth taking a peek at. We have 82% of the tickets and 80% of the cash on the Dodgers, so it doesn't seem to be that public. 94% of the tickets and 93% of cash on the over. So at this point, the under really interests me. I can change that can change, but the under really interests me. And I wonder if it's just a full game under, expecting everybody to be at their best. Bullpens are fresh. I wonder if that's the way to do it, just a full game under. But I'll certainly take a look at the first three under, and we should probably do that right now. It should be extremely expensive. It's a 7.5 minus 120 to the under. It should be at a minimum minus 155 to the under at Bet365 or more. Let's see what it is right now. Not available. Not out there. All right. Okay. Well, we'll have to be patient there again for the study of the first three. Mark Sosowski says, so you trust Anderson? Not generally, but I trust him here. I trust everybody on the Tigers here. I think that they show up to the ballpark ready for Screwball. So if Anderson wasn't going up against the defending World Series champions with his ex-teammate on the mound, I wouldn't trust him. But I trust him here. That could be a mistake. So let's roll on. Great to see you, 40 Kid, 462, ready to get to work. Thank you guys for joining us. And some funny stuff in the chat. And no, we're not going back to long shows. So it's going to be very tricky, as you guys know, because even with this card here, this is a 5-hour card at a minimum. This card would hit 6 hours, back in the day. So, yeah, I want unders, and I hope they don't tempt me with the first 3 plus a half on the Tigers, because they come ready. They come to the ballpark ready to play. In fact, the Tigers, I don't bet plus 1.5s, but this might be a time that I would. Again, I'm going to need to sit with this. This wasn't my plan coming in. So I'll have these as possibilities here. Let's roll Parlez-vous Sports. Yes, I speak sports. Let's get to work, my friend. Let's get to work. Next spot on the board, 6:45 p.m. Eastern, Miami Marlins, 68 and 66, 26 and 39 on the road at the Washington Nationals, 62 and 73, 28 and 38 at home. We're at Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. Yuri Perez on the hill. Not the first Yuri Perez to play in Major League Baseball. And I tried not to get too caught up into that. No time to go down that rabbit hole. Yuri Perez here on the hill, going up against Jackson Kent, This is going to be fun. Going to be fun. I, I wanted to take another look at Nationals Park here. So it's offensive, not like it was today, but offensive. Plus 5% runs, plus 9% homers, plus 2% doubles and triples, and plus 3% singles. 7-3 Chargers. That's what I want to hear, Godfather. Great job, Wager Detective, calling the under 6 snap. Beautiful. Yuri Perez, 7-9, 3.17 ERA, 1.11 WHIP, 3.65 expected ERA. He's playing so elite right now. I mean, this guy is pitching at such an elite level. I mean, it was easy to back him, over Skeens, but at this point, I want to back Yuri Perez against the best. Now, yes, this is a back-to-back for Yuri. That last start Saturday, as Sharpie's mentioning, Saturday, August 22nd, he allowed 1 earned run over 5 innings, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks, the 4-2 win at home versus the Nationals. And it's a back-to-back for Jackson Kent, which, of course, would lead you to the question, who has more in the bag of tricks? And immediately you would say Yuri Perez is more in the bag of tricks. So they didn't go up against each other. Yuri pitched Saturday. He's got the extra day of rest. And Jackson Kent pitched Sunday. Let's go back to Yuri Perez here, Swiggy, for a little bit longer. 40 kid, yeah, I cashed it right with you. It was just a sell high, buy low situation, and it worked out nicely. And hopefully it continues to do that. Well, Yuri Perez, though, that was the first start he allowed a run. He's allowed 1 earned run in his last 3 starts. Look, Jackson Kent looks like he's got it going on. Oh, by the way, the splits are a little worse on the road than at home. And, the whip lefty-righties never had a problem with it. And Perez had 5 career RBIs. His airness is on the Marlins here in this spot. Look, I'm high on Jackson Kent. I think he's going to be a good pitcher. 4th-round pick in the 2024 draft at the University of Arizona. That's where my mom went to school. She's here rocking with me right now. Double-A Harrisburg, 7 starts, 2.35 ERA, 0.88 WHIP. He was electric. He went up to Triple-A Chester, the dirty Chester. Triple-A Rochester, 4.38 ERA, 1.24 WHIP, 3.72 expected ERA. He was quite good there. And he's been okay. Look, it's not easy out there. And the Marlins got to him for 3 earned runs over 4 2/3. Start before that, the Rangers got to him for 5 earned runs over 3 2/3. And, these last 2 starts were on the road. Now he comes back home. When he was at home, he went up against the Cubs. And the Cubs are destroying lefties. Something the Marlins are not doing. Now, they still got him for 3 earned runs over 4 2/3. And he's coming home. So there we go. Nats bullpen, Marlins bullpen is sort of a wash right now. Nats bullpen, 4.35 ERA, 1.37 WHIP over the last 30 days. Marlins bullpen, 4.10 ERA, 1.27 WHIP over the last 30 days. And these teams aren't hitting. Marlins aren't hitting lefties. Nats aren't hitting righties. Same deal here. Yeah, it's not good, Godfather. Not good. Not good. Mark Sosowski says he wants to take Miami team total over, except their last 5 versus left-handed pitching is awful. With Washington on 10 straight and that bullpen guaranteed and guaranteed 9 at-bats. Mark Sosowski says very public over and Miami. And 40 Kid says lefty on the mound against the Marlins may jump on Otto Lopez and Xavier Edwards over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Been catching those, quite a few of those. So there's 40 Kids saying he's been catching quite a few of those. I don't. It's not my style of betting. Let's get into the line history here. We've seen a move towards Jackson Kent, 7 cents from plus 136 to plus 129. These 2 pitchers. I mean, it was a 4-2 game. So 6 runs were scored when they met last, but 5 of the runs were scored while these 2 pitchers were on the mound. From a total perspective here, we have an 8.5 juice to the under, a 20-cent move towards the under. 20-cent move towards the under. That's very, very interesting. Let's take a look at now, you'd have to use the bullpens here. Can you bring up the bullpens one more time? Or maybe it's harder the night before, but let me know if you can bring them up. So we have the heavy workload for the Nationals, which is a concern, and a fresh Marlins bullpen. Let's take a look at the cash flow here for this spot. 71% of the tickets, 88% cash on the Marlins. Lines moving towards the Nationals. 50-50 ticket count, 92% of cash on the over. Huh. You know, this is a tricky spot. I'm going to copy and paste Robert Cherry's action. Thank you for sharing that with us. I mean, we don't just fade the public to be contrarian. We have reasons to want to be contrarian, to try to be contrarian. So this is going to take some more time. But I would imagine that the average gambler, or the gambling public, would think that Jackson Kent's vulnerable, seeing the lineup a second time in a row. Yuri Perez, but the fact is he's coming back to DC Park, which should be a little bit of an advantage for him. And then we have Yuri Perez, whose splits are fine home and road. But you would think that the Marlins would be a clear favorite here. So, and I don't want to trust the Nats bullpen at this point. So with all of this being said, I have interest in the under. That 20-cent move to the under is very appealing. We have slightly offensive weather. So it's the under that interests me the most. And they're intimating that Nats are the way to go. I find it difficult to press the button on the Washington Nationals right now. But I'll have Nats question mark here at this point. We'll let this all marinate and we'll attack again. Much love to you, OG Swag. Thank you for dropping by, my man. Let me copy and paste Robert Cherry's action here. Pop it up with our cappers. And then we're going to roll on to our next spot on the board. That'll be right underneath Nuke Workers' Gamma Ray play of the day. So let's roll on. Next spot on the board here. 7:10 p.m. Eastern, Houston Astros, New York Mets in Hunter Brown. God, he just does not look like the bulldog from last year. We're in Citi Field in Queens, New York, where the Mets are starting to play much better baseball at home. We have minus 7% runs, minus 2% homers, minus 21% doubles and triples, and minus 2% singles. Hunter Brown, 3-3, 3.51 ERA, 1.33 whips, got a 3.78 expected ERA. Damn, 1.33 whip, man. Last year's whip, 1.03. He's barely over a strikeout an inning. Last year he had 206 over 185 in a third. He just, last year he threw 111 more innings than he's throwing this year, and he only threw 14 more walks than he's throwing this year. He only walked 14 more batters. He doesn't look right. Now, of course, he dealt with the shoulder strain. But those first two starts before the shoulder strain were great. We didn't see him between March 31st and June 16th. And they were being very cautious with him when he first came off of the IL, but he is, and then you can see with the whip against lefties that he can get hit by lefties. And it was never anything that we were worried about in years past. It's something that we're worried about now. Thank you for the kind words, 40 Kid, my man. So, last start, 4-3 loss at home versus the Athletics was pretty good. But the Athletics aren't hitting. 1 earned run over 5 2/3. He still allowed 7 hits and walked 3 batters. What happened to that K to walk ratio from Hunter Brown? We've talked about a lot of the pitchers that, after we talk about that get touched up, have a K to walk ratio that's like 1-to-1 when they used to dominate. Hunter Brown used to dominate K to walk ratio. In his last 3 starts, he has 13 strikeouts and 11 walks. Who is that? That's not Hunter Brown to me. He hasn't made it into the 6th or through the 6th inning in his last 3 starts. He's made it through the 6th inning once over his last 5 starts. I would say that he's not, and every time Hunter Brown was on the mound last year, I thought there was a huge advantage for pitching for the Astros. And I don't feel that here up against Christian Scott. 4-3, 3.73 ERA, 1.32 whips, got a 3.97 expected ERA. And I like Christian Scott a lot. He doesn't look good right now. I mean, these are 2 pitchers that, I like and have such high hopes for. When Scott came up in 2024 before the Tommy John surgery, I thought he was going to be a beast. When he came up this year. Back up this year. He was very, very angry that he didn't start the year with the big club. I thought he looked excellent. And then, the only thing you can say right now is he dealing with arm fatigue at this time of year? And I know we throw around the term arm fatigue maybe too much this time of year. But how else do you explain what's going on with him? This is a pitcher is throwing 15 innings in his last 3 starts. He's allowed 17 hits. He's allowed 11 earned runs, 3 home runs. He has struck out 19 and walked 7. The last start he struck out 6 and walked 4. These are, and then we go, well, is it home road splits? No. Is it the whip against lefties or righties? The lineup we expect will have 6 righties in it tomorrow. It's got a 1.40 whip against them. Life Ice. Feels good. Thank you for rocking with us, man. It was a really fun cap with Spoons. It was a really enjoyable cap, and to watch it work immediately was great. So, do we expect Christian Scott to bounce back? He was just at home 2 starts back, but he hasn't had that many home starts. And if we look at his last 2 home starts, he's gone 11 and a third, allowed 11 hits. Oh wait, sorry. He's gone 12 and a third. And he's allowed 10 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 homer, 14 strikeouts, and 3 walks. I think it'd be fair that if you were to say, look, I think that Christian Scott at home gives me a pitching advantage over Hunter Brown, that might be legit. Shout out to Josh Witt in the house. And Spoons, I'm sorry that I sent you down the other Yuri Perez rabbit hole. And great to see you, Josh. So let's go to the bullpens. 2.61 ERA, 1.16 whip for the Mets. 3.59 ERA, 1.09 whip for the Astros. They're both pitching very well right now. And then when it comes to the sticks, you're almost getting the same production. The Astros over the last 30 days. Astros versus righties, 247, 737 OPS. Mets versus righties, 256, 746 OPS. So let's go into the line history here. First off, this is a 7.5. It's a very low total. Minus 120 to the over. It's not moved. It's only been available for 2 hours and 34 minutes. Didn't come out until at BetOnline. Didn't come out until 8 p.m. this evening. When we get into the money line, no movement. We've had no movement on side and total. Of course, this has only been available for 2.5 hours, but no movement. I don't think it makes sense to look at the cash flow here. I don't think it. This line has not been in this market. It hasn't been available enough, and there's been no movement. And so, from an X's and O's standpoint, the first thing I would question is why is it so low? Now, these guys are highly thought of pitchers, but I would think it would be an 8. So it's a 7.5 minus 120 to the over. I think we have to let this market marinate. And then I kind of have a slight lean to Christian Scott outpitching Hunter Brown. I have a slight lean to Christian Scott outpitching Hunter Brown. So I'll leave it at that. Mark Sasowski says first winner 2.5. How does that grade with a 7.5? I would want it to be more expensive, but I wouldn't expect it to be more expensive with this group, with these 2 starters. Let's take a look at it right now. We got the minus 120 to the over. I guess that no, I wouldn't. I'd expect it to be more expensive if it was a bet that was going to cash. How about that? But I don't have it here. Not available yet at 365. They're pretty hesitant right now. With the 7.5 total, what should the first 5 line be? Well, it'd be a 4, and then we would break it down around there. Why don't we see if Pinnacle's up with it? Then you'd want to know where the VIG is. This is not available here. It's not available in a bunch of books. I don't know why it wouldn't be at this point, but I think we need to wait and be patient. But yeah, Life Ice, the over 4 would be juiced, and the under 4.5 would be juiced. That juiced a lot. So, but the 4 would be, where you think you would start at. So let's roll on. Let's roll on. No action for me at point. And again, the show tonight it's going to be very different than the show in the morning when we just attack, and then we have the other 6 NFL games and some more college spots. We might touch on a little bit of WNBA and CFL, all in under 2 hours. 7:10 p.m. Eastern, our next spot on the board. Kansas City Royals 59-75, 23-45 on the road to the Cleveland Guardians, 68-66, 31-34 home. We are at Progressive Field in Cleveland, Ohio, and the Guardians have hit the gas pedal. Now you could say the same thing about the Royals. The Royals are going to be coming down from Toronto here. Glad to hear that, low key, man. Respect. Let's get this cash, man. It's very, very crucial to succeed, man. Our lives are on the line. We have Michael Wacha. Oh, by the way, minus 1% runs, minus 10% home runs, plus 10% doubles and triples, and minus 4% singles. Michael Wacha, 7-8, 3-point. AOD. That was a funny. I remember that show well. I remember that show so well. AOD. Oh man, 7-8, 3.49 ERA, 1 point. AOD's like, because somebody was telling me that I don't know ball. And I snap back. Michael Wacha is a real pro, man. This guy is a real pro. 3.49 ERA, 1.13 whip, 4.11 expected ERA. There's times when we are concerned that he's dealing with arm fatigue, and I thought that he could be dealing with some arm fatigue late in the year. We've seen it often in the second half of years for Wacha. No concern about whether he's at home or on the road, although I think you'd prefer to have him at home. No concern with lefties or righties. He's just, quite a pitcher. That last start was a thing of beauty. 3-1 win at home versus the Tigers. 7 innings, 1 earned run. It was a solo shot. 6 Ks, walked 1 batter. He's walked 1 batter over his last 3 starts. He's a very good pitcher. Walked 4 batters over his last 5 starts. I like him. We have Tanner Bybee, on the other hand, 5-13, 3.97 ERA, 4.31 expected ERA, 1.14 whip. Bybee's pitching well. But of late, I have not been trusting him on the road, and maybe that's just, because they're not bad starts. I think he's had a couple bad starts that have just stuck in my head. He's had a couple bad starts at home that have stuck in my head, but those were generally pre-All-Star break. Post-All-Star break, he's looked quite good at home. That last start at home, August 16th, against the Padres, who were hitting the ball hard, 3 earned runs over 6 innings, 3 Ks, 3 walks. He looked really good. I trust Bybee. And also, I imagine if Rod Zawacki was here, he'd be telling us about AL Central unders, because I know that he's hit that a lot this year with us in the chat. Guardians bullpen, 3.55 ERA, 1.25 whip. We have the Royals bullpen, 4.84 ERA, 1.48 whip. When it comes to the sticks, comes to hitting righties, both teams are hitting righties. And the Guardians are really hitting them late. But over the last 30-day period, they don't have power against righties. Now, we've seen the Royals put up some real crooked numbers here. So, obviously, over the last little while, they're hitting. And they're hitting with power. It's just not something that is reflected in their 30-day stats. Let's get into the line history here for Royals Guardians. We have no movement on the money line. Here's another spot with no movement. Again, BetOnline didn't come out with this till 8 p.m. tonight. Let's get into the total. When it comes to a total side of things here, we have an 8 minus 115 to the under. Well, these teams are hitting. They really are hitting. Life Ice saying not tipping their hand yet. Bybee minus 132, full game minus 132, first 5. Londo, thank you. But I realized, I was trying to say, what am I doing wrong in preseason? And that's it. That's what I've been doing wrong. Is not understanding when you're buying low for someone who has to deliver or a team that has to deliver. So my concern, and if you, Swiggy, can you put up the Royals Guardians against right-handed pitching again? My concern is that these two teams are hitting. But if you could put up the offense, sticks against, look at that. Look at that trajectory. How can I go into a first 3 under, even if there's pitchers that I really like, when these teams are hitting harder than they've been hitting in some time? The answer is that you probably shouldn't. You probably shouldn't. Now, are they going to get? No, your money, your money. And the Swiggy says the only worry is the Guardians' slug level is really low. Yeah, their OPS is really low, but they're hitting and uh, so I have some concerns because Bobby and Waka would generally want I'd generally be leaning towards moving on an early under or trusting them early, but I don't think I can do that with the way these teams are hitting. Let's take a look and see if we. Oh no, 365 does not have the first threes up, so we got to wait for that. Let's see what Pinnacle has here. So they got the Guardians at minus 140, first five minus 130. So the Royals are plus 126 full game. First five plus 112. That's quite a mighty difference. And the 4.5 is slightly juiced towards the under. Whereas again, like we talked about, if this was that 7.5 that we were talking about, minus 120 to the over, it would be much, well, at least 13 more cents towards the under. So let's roll on here. And I'm just gonna, before we move our graphics over to our next game, I don't want to Bybee at home. And I don't want a first three under here. I feel like I'm handcuffed sort of by the situation. And the situation is that the Royals and the Guardians haven't hit like this all year. They're hot. Both teams are hot. Do we want to run up to them and say, look, these two pitchers, Waka and Bybee, can shut them down? The first three is Kansas City plus 105 and Cleveland minus 135. Thank you, Mark. And the first 302 minus 125. Yeah, I just, it's not enough for me to pull the trigger. Now, I don't want to switch over to football mode. I love football. I'm ready to do it, but we've got a lot of baseball left to attack. So, and I don't feel like I'm hesitant because of all the football capping we've been doing. I'm just hesitant because this just doesn't correlate the way I want it to if we're going to invest in something. And if this was 6 weeks ago, God, we'd be on the first 300 and the first 500 so easily. But it's not. They're not hitting like that. They're both winning games. And it's just, if you give me a free bet, I'd put on the first 300 2.5. You know. But at this point, I'm going to need to wait. I'm going to need the market to do its thing. We got to keep thinking about it. Let's roll on. 7:10 p.m. Eastern. San Diego Padres 72 and 62, 31 and 34 on the road at the Tampa Bay Rays 79 and 54, 43 and 23 at home. We're at the Trop, St. Petersburg, Florida. Casey Mize looks a little different when he's out there. Looks a little different. I mean, we talked about Arrighetti and the body language differences that he's showing now. Casey Mize, he walks up onto the mound like he's got the flu. You know, like he's dealing with food poisoning. I mean, Casey Mize is a guy who just knows he's great. Number 1 overall pick. First start in Double-A, throws a no-hitter. And I remember in his interview after throwing the no-hitter, he sounded like he's a man out there. Like he's playing with a bunch of kids. He's like, you know. And it's possible that getting let go by the only organization he knows has hurt him. It's also possible that he's not 100%. Twice he went on the IL for adductor strains. Twice. Adductor strain, adductor inflammation. You know, there's some great stats that Mark Stosowski has of Casey Mize bouncing back after bad starts. His first start with the Padres, he allowed 8 earned runs, and then he came back, had a quality start at home versus the Brewers. This last start, he only made it through 2 2/3 at home. Is really going to the Trop the answer for him? I just don't see a bulldog out there. I don't see a guy oozing confidence. Let's talk about Shane McClanahan, 9 and 6, 3.10 ERA, 1.12 WHIP. He's got a 4.13 expected ERA. And, you know, Spoons has really had his finger on the pulse of when to back McClanahan and when not to. AM says this price for the Rays at home seems trappy. That's important notes, man. So we'll go over that in a second. McClanahan had a back injury, so we didn't see him not long. 15-day IL. He was on the IL for basically the minimum. And he came back and he allowed 3 earned runs in that first start over 3 1/3 against the Orioles. Then he faced the Orioles again. That's not easy. And the Orioles are hitting hard right now. Anybody who can slow down the Orioles right now is climbing in my thought process. I have been a big Casey Mize fan since he was drafted first overall. We're very interested in him. Of course, I love the city of Detroit. And McClanahan's been a monster that we didn't see, right? We didn't see in 2024 or 2025. And now at this point, right here, right now, I think the better pitcher is on the Tampa Bay Rays. Let's go into the bullpen here. Rays bullpen, 4.15 ERA, 1.17 whip. Padres bullpen, 2.48 ERA, 1.10 whip. Do I really believe that the Rays bullpen is as bad as their 30-day figure says? No. And do I believe that the Padres bullpen is as good as, obviously not a 0.82 ERA like they've had last 5, but they're pitching at a very high level, and they're a staff that I believe in. And they were the best bullpen last year. They were the best bullpen for the first 2 months this year, and then they completely fell off, and then they found themselves again when the time is right. When it comes to the sticks, both teams are hitting. Padres are hitting lefties, 260, 741 OPS. Rays are hitting righties, 267, 749 OPS. Let's take a look at the line history. First off, we have a 7.5. This was minus 103 to the under. Now it's minus 110 to the under. I think that's quite telling. Some books I don't care much about have made the under 7.5 even juicier than that. Let's see what Penny has for this total. Here we go. Penny for this one has a 7.5, heavily juiced to the under. Minus 115 to the under, while the over is plus 100. Wow. So the books are telling us that both will shove. From a money line standpoint, there's no movement. Sitting here, minus 128 for the Rays. Minus 129 here. Minus 129 full game. And first 5, minus 138. Sort of like with Chris Sale. They're pricing me out of the first 5. Chris Sale's first 5 is minus 140 just because I was late to the party. That sucks. I don't want to have to take a minus a half. Life Ice says that first 3 under 2.5 is minus 130. That is appealing. That is appealing. Now, by watching this market and expecting the Casey Mize bounce back. Well, I mean, it's just too expensive. I'm not going to sit here with. I don't want to sit here with a minus 138, but it might be the thing to do. Just to let it go and to drink the juice on that first 5. I do not want first 5 minus a halves in low volatility, and I won't bet them. I wouldn't bet the Sale first 5 minus a half. Now they got the home run right off the hop, but it was 1-0 at the end of 5. The first 3 under 2.5 is appealing. I don't know if it's necessary if there's any concerns about Casey Mize, because you can just take the full game under and trust these bullpens. That's probably the better way to do it, unless you want to double down on it, which I don't want to. So I'm just going to don't double down. And then I think it might be worth taking the Rays at this price. I think it might be worth taking the Rays at this price. Jay Mills, it is wonderful to see you and to see the Hartford Whaler emblem once again, my man. No. Troy and I are not running back Bankroll Blitz. But Troy will be breaking down football games. He's going to be breaking down futures on our channel here shortly. He's going to go division by division. And we'll be breaking down NFL on our morning bag show. But no, Bankroll Blitz is no longer. Now, NFL Pub Hub on Sunday is still on. But sadly, that is done. J Mills, my man. So, there we go. I would like to take the Rays first 5, and I have interest in the first 3 under 2.5 and the full game under. And I think I would prefer just the full game under. I'm almost certain that's what I would prefer. So, All right, let's roll on. Next spot on the board for 7:15 p.m. Eastern. Boston Red Sox 73 and 60, 39 and 28 on the road at the New York Yankees 75 and 57, 34 and 29 at home. Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. I don't know if sports rivalries get better than this one. And we have Patrick Sandoval versus Mr. Schlittler. Patrick Sandoval 1-2, 4.54 ERA, 1.76 WHIP, 4.89 expected ERA. We hadn't seen him since June of 2024 when he first started this year. I mean, 2 years it took him to come back. He didn't, from June to 2024 to Thursday, July 9th, he looked really good in his rehab assignments. We loved him. We loved him as an Angel. I loved backing him when he was an Angel. And Mark Sasowski says he likes the full game under. That's a safe way for me to back for Mark to back the Mize bounce back. Respect, man. Respect, Jay Mills, man. Yeah, looking forward to have hockey back, my man. There we go. We got a big season ahead of us. So Patrick Sandoval in his last start went 5 2/3, 5 hits, 2 earned runs. There were solo shots, 6 Ks, 2 walks, and a 3-2 win at home versus the Giants. I didn't like the start that much. The Giants have a AAA lineup wrapped around Devers. The start before that, he allowed 7 earned runs over 4 innings, 8-3 loss to the Pirates. Start before that, he allowed 4 runs, only 2 of which were earned over 6 innings. If we look at the last 3 starts, he struck out 16 and he's walked 8. I don't really like that K to walk ratio, at all. And then when we come to the splits here, he's not looked very good on the road. Yes, we do. We have the live streams. They're all good, Londo, and they're going to be nonstop live streams starting next week. So you're going to get a lot of those, my man. So let's talk about Cam Schlittler here on the other side. We have 11 and 6, 2.16 ERA, 0.96 WHIP, 2.92 expected ERA. Look, he's being a beast, and it was him and Cease for the Cy until Schlittler fell off a little bit, or Cease just took over. Life Ice saying the line's moving towards the Yankees first 5, 34 cents on BetOnline. That's interesting. So let's talk about Schlittler and what we've seen from him lately. 3 straight starts where he's only allowed 1 earned run. It feels like he's in playoff mode right now already. Last time we saw him August 21st, he allowed 1 earned run over 6 innings and a 3-1 win at home over the Jays. The start before that, 1 earned run over 5 1/3 at the Jays. Now, I know the Jays aren't a scary lineup, but seeing any lineup in back-to-back starts is very difficult. And he did a great job at it. Life Ice says minus 162 for the full game and minus 196 for the first 5. I'd like to go over that because that is making things more appealing to back the Yankees first 5. And I think we can take a minus a half in this one because of Sandoval's questionable outings, and especially on the road. The Yankees bullpen 3.31 ERA, 1.19 WHIP. Red Sox bullpen's been excellent for a long period of time. 2.13 ERA, 1.05 WHIP. The Red Sox are hitting righties hard. Now, I know the Yankees aren't hitting. They've turned it around a little bit over the last 5 games, but over the last 30 games, they're hitting lefties quite a bit harder than they're hitting righties. I think that it's well within reason here to think that the Yankees can touch up Sandoval. Now, looking at the rolling trajectory, that's not the case. Look, we're down to 197 over the last 5 games. I've got him here with a 241. I got the Yankees here with a 241 average and a 702 OPS over the last 30 days. But that rolling trajectory does make me nervous. Let's get into the line history here. Line history-wise, for this one, we've had a move towards the Red Sox from plus 162 to plus 147. And just like the Astros move, the 20 cents towards the Astros with the Wesneski Cole start, this happened right away. This line was available for 10 minutes, and the Yankees went from minus 180 to minus 165. That will curtail any of the interest that I have, even on back in the first 5 minus a half. Betting into those moves don't help me. We've had a 10-cent move towards the under from under 8 minus 110 to under 8 minus 120, and a bunch of these books have moved to 7.5. That again is telling me that Sandoval is going to pitch well here, and the fact that the Yankees aren't hitting lefties over the last little while is something that we need to trust here. Let's take a look at Pinnacle's price difference here for first 5 and full game. They have the Yankees at minus 158 And first 5 minus 197, 39 cents. Wow. Wow. That is a big difference. That is a big difference. The first 5 under 4 is plus 104. Wow. Wow. So, the books are telling us it's what, a Yankees first half, Red Sox full game. Look, I'm not going to bet that. But I guess that's what the books are telling us. What are you going to get to that on that? Like 8-1? Huh. I am surprised that this line's moving so hard against Schlittler, but not. Well, I shouldn't say Schlittler against the Yankees. It's not going against Schlittler. Wow. Well, I think that first 302.5 is going to be in play because the Yankees will struggle against lefties. Sandoval's a vet and knows how important this baseball game is. And we don't have first threes to study at this point. Wow. So I have interest in the first 302.5, but I would like to study it. I'd like to line shop with it. And also with a game of this magnitude, I'd sure like to see where the cash is because this line's been out for a while. We have 54% of the tickets on the Yankees and 9% of the cash. 54 and 9. Good God. And everybody's on the over. 89% of the tickets on the over and 91% of cash on the over. Wow. Wow. So, I mean, I don't think, you could, it's minus 135 at Caesars. Thanks, Mark. So, I'm interested in the first round of 2.5. And that's about it. I'm not going to take the Yankees first 5 minus a half, even though it certainly appears, with a 39-cent price difference, that's the move. But why would this be moving so heavily again? Why don't we just judge it in the morning? So I'll put the note here that Yankees first 5 at pin is minus 197, and we'll take it from there. We'll just take it from there. The coffee is pretty good. I'm going to need it tonight because there's a whole bunch of football games that I'm going to be getting to after the show, after I get my action out. So first 302.5 is something that I'd be willing to bet now. The Yankees first 5, I want to continue to study. And we'll have a lot of time. And there'll be such a big market. There'll be a market that we can analyze and take advantage of. Let's roll on. The next spot on the board, 7:15 p.m. Eastern. We have the Colorado Rockies, 52-81, 25-43 on the road at the Atlanta Braves, 78-55, 34-23 at home. We are at Truist Park in Atlanta, Georgia. We have minus 7% runs, minus 2% homers, minus 13% doubles and triples, and plus 1% singles. These two pitchers have thrown me for a loop. I'm not a big Sagano fan, but I like Sagano. We have some weather issues. I see the Doppler radar up. Let's take a look at this radar here for Hotlanta. Now, the weather cleared up for us today. Let's see if that will happen again tomorrow. So, I see a nice day tomorrow. Oh, light rain. Yeah, I think we're fine. I think we're golden here tomorrow. I think this game's going to be in fine conditions. So let's start with Sugano, 12-7, 4.96 ERA, 1.32 WHIP. He's got a 6.99 expected ERA, but the ground ball pitchers get negatively affected by the expected ERA. He had back spasms. He went on the IL on July 4th, but he didn't pitch after June 26th, and he didn't come back till after the All-Star break. And he didn't have any rehab starts in the minors. He didn't need to do anything because he's an old vet. He's an old pro. And he looked really good right away. He was just bet on. He was bet on from July 18th till when? Till his last 2 starts. Unfortunately, I thought that he could pitch okay on August 17th at home versus the Dodgers. That was not the case. I didn't back him on Sunday, August 23rd. I didn't cap baseball on that Sunday. That was, 4 days ago. And it was the day after the Lowback Summit of Champions at Woodbine. I was pretty dehydrated. Let's talk about Grant Holmes. Grant Holmes had that last start against Anthony. No, we've exhausted ourselves. I'll copy and paste that, Robert Cherry, my man. Thank you for sharing that with us. I've exhausted myself talking about the emotional thought, just the emotional struggles that Grant Holmes has had. He cares so much about being a starter. They gave him a week off for a mental reset after a couple tough starts in when was it exactly that he needed the mental and physical? Yes, right at the beginning of May. And again, he had this partial UCL flexor tendon tear in his right elbow. Decided not to have surgery. That's what when Tristan McKenzie made that decision, he's not pitching Major League Baseball. And they're like, that was your fault for not getting Tommy John surgery. So Grant Holmes here was struggling in June, and they pulled him from the rotation. And then he started pitching very well. And then he had 2 straight starts where he looked incredibly good. And then he got lit up at home by the Diamondbacks. And the books were telling us that him and Anthony Kay were going to shove. And I just didn't listen. And also that game, so it was a 2-0 final score. If you remember, that first 2.5 at Bet 365 was plus 105 in that one. And I just couldn't comprehend why it would be so heavily juiced to the over, and I let the market get me off of it. Look, I want to sell him high after a start like that, but he had a very similar start like that at home versus the Marlins on August 4th, and then he went to the Yankees and dominated again. I don't know what happened to him in that start at Saturday, August 15th at home. I can't quite explain it. His K to walk ratio hasn't been that good. I mean, here's a guy in his last 3 starts, 2 of them he's not allowed to run. In the last 3 starts, he has 8 strikeouts and 8 walks. That's not the type of pitcher that I want to be backing here. He's better on the road than he is at home. I think that's he emotes. He cares so much. He wants to succeed so bad. He wants to be a starting pitcher in this team in the playoffs so badly. Let's talk about the bullpens. Braves bullpen 4.21 ERA, 1.48 WHIP. Rockies bullpen 3.95 ERA, 1.4 WHIP. Of course, all of these stats that I give bullpen and sticks are last 30 days. The Braves are not hitting righties, and it's just been going on for a long time now. 229 with a 643 OPS versus righties last 30 days. Rockies 259, 759 OPS. Let's get into the line history here for this spot. Here we go. Okay, line history-wise, we have an 8.5 juice to the over. 8.5 juice to the over, minus 120, no movement. Let's get to the money line. On the money line here, we have a 15-cent move towards Holmes and the Braves from minus 210 to minus 225. This is expensive here. Expensive. Life Vice says, does a first 3 over 2.5 minus 135 mean one pitcher is going to give it up? I don't think you can explain it that clean and simple. I mean, it probably does, often does, but I think that every game is its own puzzle that needs to be broken down. Every situation is different. It certainly means they expect it to go over. If it's way out of line from what the full game total is, then our overs have been very successful in that situation. I mean, I don't really trust Sugano. He looks like something is ailing him here. It's only his second year in North America, and our schedule is way, way more intense than it was for him in Japan. We have 59% of the tickets on the Braves and 87% of cash, 60% of tickets and 94% of cash on the over. I mean, what's appealing here? I mean, I don't want to take the Braves on the run line. I guess what I would say is that there's nothing really that appealing. I mean, you're going to buy Grant Holmes high, sell Sugano low, but the total is just an 8.5. There's nothing appealing to me on this spot here for Rockies Braves. Let's roll on. Next spot on the board for us is 7:15 p.m. Eastern. Seattle Mariners at the Toronto Blue Jays. Man, did we nail that Jays game today. Seattle Mariners 64-70, 27-39 on the road. At the Toronto Blue Jays 65-69, 34 at home. We have run suppressing weather for us tomorrow. Minus 9% runs, minus 4% homers, minus 6% doubles and triples, and minus 3% singles. We got Emerson Hancock on the hill. It is Hancock versus Cease. This is a wonderful, wonderful pitching matchup. Emerson Hancock 7-7, 3.37 ERA, 1.12 WHIPs. Got a 3.87 expected ERA. Last time we saw Emerson was Friday, August 21st. It was at home versus the Cubs. He got through it. It wasn't excellent. He allowed 2 different homers. He allowed 3 earned runs overall. He's been interesting watching him out there because And I guess we have no pitchers listed at a lot of these spots. I didn't realize that. Let me just see if that is the case at the books. I thought we knew it was Hancock versus Cease. And wow, maybe we don't. It's not even up at the books. Who would be the pitcher that they wouldn't expect to go? Let's not spend too much time here on it if that is not the expectation. Wow, somebody's not starting. Well, it's got to be Hancock. Yesterday, Dylan Cease was at the AGO. Dylan Cease is also an artist, and he made this painting, and Schneider had it up at his office, and then he had an exhibit at the AGO with some of his other pieces. He's only been painting since 2022, and it's pretty. It's kind of fun watching him talk about it, and the kids, everyone loved him at AGO, and the AGO is Ontario Art Gallery. So it's got to be Hancock. We need some confirmation as to why the hell this line's not out. Dylan Cease, 2.37 ERA, 1.06 WHIP, 2.67 expected ERA. He's going to win the Cy Young Award this year. He's absolutely spectacular. He had back-to-back starts against the Yankees. Back-to-back starts are tough against any team. And the Yankees aren't that good this year, but he goes a combined 13 innings, allows 3 earned runs. 8. That last start he walked 5. He has walked 12 in his last 3 starts. Well, that's not like him. That's not like him. So, again, you could say, look, now Cease, there's so much on the line for him with a chance to win the Cy, but 144 in the third. God, he's been phenomenal pickup in the offseason. So let's just wait. Let's wait till we have lines. We got so much work to do in this cards. Let's just wait till we have more of a sense as to what's going on, why this isn't available. And it's not Cease. It has to be Hancock. I watched Cease get interviewed yesterday. There's nothing wrong with him. He should be good to go. So we'll just wait patiently here. Let's move on. Next spot on the board here for us is 7:40 p.m. Eastern action. Texas Rangers at the Milwaukee Brewers. We're at American Family Field in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Sorry, Swiggy, we spelled subscribe wrong there, and it's just I can't stop looking at it. I can't think about it. I'm just like, God, we got to add an S in there, man. Got to add an S in there. Texas Rangers, Milwaukee Brewers, American Family Field, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is my favorite pitching matchup of tomorrow. Cody Bradford, 0-2, 3.05 ERA, 5.24 expected ERA. I'm a big Bradford fan. I have been. So, he was gone for a long time. Had the internal brace procedure in June of 2025. And look, he was supposed to be back to start the year. He had a setback in his recovery. He wasn't able to go until July 13th. We talk about what we want from pitchers in their rehab starts. I don't want them to be perfect at all. I just want them to have swing and miss stuff. They can walk a bunch of batters, figure some stuff out. I just want them to have swing and miss stuff. And good God, did Bradford show that in his rehab starts. And we backed him right away. And he shoved in his very first start back. Now, it was against the Giants, and we know what the Giants can't do, and that's hit left-handed pitching. So, you could take it with a grain of salt. The next start, though, was a thing of beauty at the Angels. 3 earned runs over 7 innings. What can the Angels not do? Hit lefties. Then he went up at the Athletics. He shut them down, but he allowed 8 hits. He just kept the ball in the yard in a very offensive spot. And then Saturday, August 22nd, he went 5 1/3. He allowed 2 earned runs, struck out 3, didn't walk a batter, in a 3-0 loss at home versus the Angels. Faced the Angels again. Let's get into the line history here for this spot. But let's stay in the order. And Logan Henderson is next. Sorry, I don't know why I was jumping the order. Look, Logan Henderson is very, very good pitcher. 2.60 ERA, 0.89 WHIP. He had the back strain that put him out for a long, long time. I think that's beneficial for him and for Brewers fans. You want to keep his inning count down. He is ready to be a workhorse right now, and he has been one. His last 2 starts were spectacular versus the Dodgers and the Braves. At the Dodgers, at home versus the Braves, he goes a combined 13 innings, allows 8 hits, 2 earned runs, strikes out 10 and walks 3. This guy is locked in. He's completely locked in. Brewers bullpen, 2.57 ERA, 1.13 WHIP. Rangers bullpen, 4.61 ERA, 1.48 WHIP. The Brewers are not hitting lefties very hard right now. They're not. We can't trust the Rangers bullpen at all, but we can trust Bradford. The Brewers, again, are not hitting lefties. 239, 701 OPS. I mean, it's not bad. They're a professional ball club. Rangers versus righties, 218, 651 OPS. The Rangers are not hitting righties. Now, it helps having Corey Seager back in that lineup. I mean, it helps enormously. But they're just not really hitting. Let's take a look at this line history here for Bradford Henderson. We have no move on the money line. Henderson sitting here at minus 173 and not moving. I would think that is predicated on the idea that Bradford can go pitch for pitch with them. Now, I don't know if Bradford can go quite pitch for pitch with someone as talented as Henderson. This 7.5 is very low. Total is minus 120 to the over. Well, I think these starting pitchers are going to deliver. Life I says, why no advantage with Henderson? Because Brewers are not hitting left-handed pitching? No, because the Rangers are worse at righties than the Brewers versus lefties. If there is no price difference first 5 in full game, it's because the books think Bradford can shove. So let's take a closer look here at this line history here for Rangers, or at the price difference for Rangers Brewers. We have the Brewers full game at minus 170, first 5 minus 174. So the Rangers are plus 153 full game, and first 5 they're plus 146. The first 5 under 4.5 is heavily juiced, heavily juiced at 4.5. You know, and this is an 8. This total is an 8. So look, I think these pitchers pitch very well. I think they pitch very well. The concern that we'll have is that the Brewers can get to Bradford, because I don't have much of a concern that I think Logan Henderson can shut down the Rangers. I think this comfortably leads us to unders. Comfortably. I would like the line shot more when the first 3s are out. You would think they'd be out now. This is an 8 minus 115 to the under 365, which certainly feels off market. We don't have the first 3s, but I don't want the full game under. Again, I'm not going to trust this Rangers bullpen ever. I'm not going to put my cash on them. So I think this is the first 3 under and the first 5 under. And that's the way I plan on betting it. I really like Cody Bradford. I fear the Brewers offense, even if they're not hitting with power against lefties. This is the first 3 and first 5 under. Let's roll on. We have a lot of people talking about the action that's going on right now. I need to take a look. I got a ton of money invested. I guess not that much left, but so sitting here with the Diamondbacks full game, it makes me a little nervous. Mystics up a point on the Mercury, and then Rams up 10-7 on the Chargers, 2nd and goal from the 9 near the end of the second quarter. Remember, though, that it's Caldwell who we expect to be at quarterback for the full second half for the Rams. I don't know if that will be the case, but I know you're concerned, Londo. Remember that. That was the whole bet, was based upon Caldwell. We'll see if he is starting at quarterback in the second half. Okay, let's roll on. Well, at least that's the first spot where I can have some real confidence to move on. It's been a bit of a tricky card thus far. There's a lot of spots that I still like. Let's roll. 8:10 p.m. Eastern with the Chicago White Sox, 70-63, 29-36 on the road at the Minnesota Twins, 64-70, 35-31 at home. We're at Target Field, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Minus 5% runs, minus 11% homers, minus 3% doubles and triples, and even 4 singles. We have Luis Castillo on the hill, 5.19 ERA, 1.42 whips, got a 4.92 expected ERA. And Castillo was traded to the White Sox, and we all questioned that because the White Sox didn't pick up any of his salary. We saw him first start Saturday, August 22nd. He went just 2 2/3. He allowed 4 earned runs. He's had one great start, and that was a start where the books told us to back him. I did not heed their advice, and it cost me money. That was his second start as a White Sox. That was at home. These last 2 starts have come, or last start was at home, August 22nd, and the start before that was at the Cubs. He's not trustworthy at all. Yes, he had one great start. And it's funny how the books can lead you in the right direction. It's wild. Let's move on to Dean Kramer here. We got a couple of trends that I want to go over in the game we just talked about, but let's finish off what we're doing here on this game. Dean Kramer, on the other hand, 2-4, 5.22 ERA, 1.18 whip, 4.28 expected ERA. Look, Kramer is a bit of an enigma. He didn't make the Orioles out of spring training this year. Every single season that we saw him as an Oriole, he basically had an ERA over over 4 and a whip just over 1.25. Like, it was just consistently mediocre. And there'd be times where you'd watch him and he would shove. And the first few starts he had this year, he was quite good, except that every time he got hit, it went yard. He had this ridiculous amount of home runs that he'd given up, a silly amount of them. And but he wasn't pitching that bad until his last 2 starts with the Orioles, and or 3 of his last 4, I would say. Remember, he had a right quad strain that shelved him from April 18th till July 1st, a long, long time, and he wasn't bet on when he came back. His last 2 starts as an Oriole, he allowed 14 earned runs over 10 innings, and still the Twins wanted him, and he's pitched quite well. It's funny how you get a new organization, somebody believes in you, and you pitch well. The first 2 starts, he was excellent, and one of those was against his old baseball team, the Orioles. And he went in there and allowed 1 hit over 7 innings. Start after that, he fell back to earth. Loss at home versus the Phillies, 4 runs over 5 1/3. That last start at San Diego was pretty good. The San Diego Padres are ripping the leather off the ball. And the fact he allows just 2 earned runs over 5 1/3, pretty good. Pretty good. Now, I could understand that, looking at Castillo and Kramer, that you would want nothing to do with either of these pitchers. And generally, the market will indicate whether or not that is the right thing to feel and then invest in. Twins bullpen 4.40, ERA 1.53 whip. They're back to being bad again. That's no surprise to anybody. The surprise was they looked good for a little bit. White Sox bullpen 3.57 ERA, 1.27 whip. I know they haven't looked as good last 5 days, but they've been quite good all year. The White Sox are not hitting righties. 227, 700 OPS. Now, the White Sox have started hitting again over the last 5 to 10 games. Sweetie, we need to know. You need to know if it is Caldwell at quarterback. If they tell us, if you see, then I would bet it right away. But that's, I don't think that. So yeah, that's what the whole thing is based upon. So we need to know if we look. I suspect that he will be, but you need some confirmation on that suspicion. Once you get the confirmation, I would say pull the trigger. So these teams are not hitting righties. They were hitting righties. They've stopped. Let's get into the line history here for White Sox Twins. We have a total that's moved towards the under. Now, it opened up very high. This was a 9 minus 123 to the over, extremely high. And now it's a 9 at a pick'em. So at Bet Online, there's been 13 cents of movement towards the under. On the money line here, we have no movement. Kramer sitting here at minus 108. I think it would help to look at. I think it would really help to look at the price difference. First 5 in full game here for Twins White Sox. This is a bump fight that I could probably get involved with. Let's take a look at what we're dealing with. Twins White Sox. We have the Twins at minus 113 full game. First 5 minus 120. I mean, wouldn't we suspect Kramer could outpitch Castillo? Kramer being at home, Castillo on the road? I think the answer is yes. I mean, let's take a look at the cash flow, but I imagine that the White Sox will be backed by the gambling public. We have 60% of the tickets on the Twins and 92% of cash on the White Sox. 94% of tickets on the under and 90% of cash on the under. I think I would be a little more comfortable. Alondo says Kramer sucks. I like the over. I see runs. That's fair. I would not bet it right now with the 13-cent move immediately to the under. I would want to see it bounce back in the morning, personally. But if you have the conviction, then go to the window and make a bet. I like perceived gas cans and fading the public thought that they're going to get annihilated. I'm not going to do that here. Life Ice says the first 5 opening line is 5. I mean, that makes sense. It should be a 5. So I think the Twins' first 5 is a reasonable bet here. I think it's a reasonable bet. I mean, what are our thoughts here about Castillo? I mean, I thought it was a terrible pickup by the White Sox, and then he shoved in my face in that second game as a White Sox, and that's the only game he's pitched well in. He's more than capable of shoving again, screwing me over again. We have a couple trends here on this game before we move on. First from Rod says, bet on Chicago White Sox on the money line after 6 or more consecutive home games. White Sox record during the 2026 season in that situation, 11-3. Says, bet over the total and Luis Castillo starts as a road underdog of plus 100 or higher over his record since the 2025 season, 8-0. Well, I think Kramer can outpitch Castillo. So, and of course, obviously being at home is helpful. You know, the Castillo had the crazy splits, but part of that was pitching at home in Seattle in a run-suppressing ballpark. I like it. I'm interested. I'm in Twins first 5. Let's roll on. We still have a lot of work to do on the show. We have 37 minutes left to do it. 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Let's head over to the NL Central. Fun division. Pittsburgh Pirates 65-70, 31-38 on the road. With the St. Louis Cardinals here. 67-68, 32-36 at home. We have run suppressing weather. Minus 10% runs, minus 17% homers, minus 11% doubles and triples, and plus 6% singles. We have Jared Jones going up against Quinn Matthews, 25-year-old Quinn Matthews. Pitcher that I like. He's being told that he will be in the rotation for the rest of the year. That's important. That's very, very important. Important for his confidence. But let's start with Jared Jones. Jared Jones, 2-5, 4.76 ERA, 1.25 WHIP. He's got a 3.68 expected ERA. And he had a terrible start on August 9th that skewed his post-All-Star break record. August 9th, 8 earned runs over 3 innings at home versus the Mets. It was strange. He did have a decent bounce-back spot right after that at home versus the Red Sox. Then he went to Chavez Ravine and 2 earned runs over 4 innings. He walked 5 batters. He was trying too hard, which is something he's done. Look, Jones had the UCL surgery in last May. He looked pretty good in his rehab starts. He came up May 29th, and he just looked like he was trying too hard. You know, so did Bubba Chandler. They both just didn't look like the studs that they're expected to become. So, Look, we had really high expectations for Jared Jones, and he's not delivered. Let's talk about 25-year-old Quinn Matthews. He's got some ugly numbers here in the show, but he's only thrown 14 innings. 6.43 ERA, 1.79 WHIP. 4th-round pick in the 2023 draft out of Stanford. In AAA Memphis this year, he's been great. 21 starts, 3.27 ERA, 1.23 WHIP, 120 strikeouts over 99 innings. Now he walks too many batters. That's been a problem. 61 walks, 99 innings is a problem, and we know Major League bats can be very patient. Very patient. Rod Swag says the Pirates have lost each of their last 11 Friday games against NL opponents. I think it's really important that Quinn Matthews was told, I believe it was yesterday, it might have been the day before yesterday, but that he'll be a starter for the rest of the year. Give him a chance to get settled. He was settled in Memphis. Give him a chance to get settled up here. His last start, he got annihilated in Philadelphia. Annihilated. August 22nd, 10 hits, 7 earned runs. Those first 2 starts, he was great. Now, that was against the Blue Jays and the Reds, 2 teams that can't hit lefties. Well, guess what the Pirates can't do? Hit lefties. They're the worst team in Major League Baseball over the last 30 days against lefties. But let's get into the bullpens first. Cards bullpen, 4.88 ERA, 1.36 WHIP. Pirates bullpen, 2.79 ERA, 1.25 WHIP. So the Cards bullpen is a problem. The Cards bullpen is a problem. The Pirates bullpen is pitching very well. Not only is the Cards bullpen a problem, but they're a tired bullpen. When it comes to the sticks, the Cards can't hit righties, and the Phillies can't hit lefties. We have another trend here. Bet against Pittsburgh in road games on the money line after scoring and allowing 3 runs or less in the last 2 games. Pittsburgh's record since 2025, 0-10. Let's get into the line history here. And I don't mean to romanticize Quinn Matthews, obviously, which I've done. We have a big move towards Jared Jones, minus 102 to minus 117. There was just a 10-cent move 40 minutes ago. That might throw a wrench into my plan. We have, from a total situation, wow, a big move to the under. Big move to the under. Wow. This opened up at 8.5 minus 120 to the under. It lasted for 10 minutes. Then it was an 8. Now we have a 7.5. Good God, that's a big move. what they're saying is that these teams can't hit. Mark Sosowski says St. Louis's bullpen is a mess. This is the Pirates. Wow. Let's take a look at price difference. I did not expect to see this major move towards the Pirates. Let's take a look at price difference. We have the Cardinals at plus 101 full game. First five minus 103. Interesting. So the Pirates are minus 111 full game. First five minus 113. The first five under 4 is minus 112. Wow. Well, I could understand back in the Pirates full game. I could understand the expectation that Jared Jones can slow down this really weak Cardinals offense. But I feel the same way about Quinn Matthews slowing. Look, we have 90% of the tickets and 94% of cash on the over, and we're down to a 7.5 across the board at the legal books. FanDuel's put this at a 7? Come on, no. My God. FanDuel's moved this from an 8 to a 7. This is a real bullish move to the under. I mean, a bullish move to the under. Good God. All this money on the over. Now, we want to see, we don't put too much stock into these numbers at this point, of the cash flow numbers. Mark Sosowski says that first 302 minus 140. Says that's expensive. Rod Zwack says bet under the total in Pittsburgh road games after batting 225 or worse over a 5-game span. The under's record during 2026 season 10-1. Wow. Look, the books have tipped their hand. Now you could say, look, it's too expensive for us to bet. And that's a reasonable answer to the books moving it so heavy to the under. Say, okay, yes, the books have told us to bet the under, but now it's too expensive, so I'll stay off. Now, I don't know if I can do that. I think I can at least move on the first 5 under 4. Wow, this is just a heavy move towards the under. First 3, first 5 unders. His Ernest says early syndicate money. It can't be. There's limits right now. The limits are lifted around now, maybe in half an hour, maybe in an hour. But the syndicate money, you can't. With limits, syndicate money doesn't work. You need limits removed. So it's sharp action, but it can't be syndicate. Again, it's simple. There's just low limits at this point. Londo going first 3, first 5, and full game under. I certainly will stop after first 3 and first 5, but I get why you would do it. But also that first 3 under 2 might just be too expensive for me. So I've got to decide whether that's the case. So I've got to. But yes, unders. I mean, but again, look, it's one thing to see the books move it so heavily to an under and say, oh well, the under is the bet. It's another thing to get there before the massive move. So it's one thing to recognize it. It's another thing to be ahead of it. Recognizing it might not be enough. Rod Zweig says each of the Cardinals' last 8 games have gone over the total. And again, it's like what Mark Stosowski's talking about. It's this horrible bullpen. A lot to think about still. I think the Pirates should probably be bet. This is a pretty drastic move. Now, the Cardinals are a pretty good baseball team. You know, right around the 500 mark, but they're bad at home. 4 games under 500, and the Pirates are a pretty good baseball team. They're under 500, but that's pretty good. It's not right. They're an average baseball team, but they're not that bad on the road. They've been poor at home. This line move is something that I'm going to respect. So I think this is worth an investment. Let's roll on. Next ball on the board, 9:38 p.m. Eastern. This is such a fun game. Philadelphia Phillies, 74-60, 36-30 on the road at the LA Angels, 52-82, 29-39 at home at Angel Stadium in Anaheim, California. I remember being at this ballpark as a kid. Let's take a look at the weather conditions. Minus 2% runs, plus 1% homers, minus 8% doubles, triples, and plus 2% singles. That's pretty offensive conditions for Angel Stadium. And you can see with the weather there, just weather alone is plus 2% runs and plus 10% homers. And Mark is on that first 2.5 in Pirates money line. I think they're both appealing. His Ernest says Disneyland. Look, I don't care about the Disneyland. I would, you grow out of that at by what, 8, 9? Um, I want to be at Angel Stadium when I was 10, man. Didn't want to be at Disneyland. Andrew Painter going up against Reed Detmers. And also, Rod Weiss says Pirates are 3-8 on the road after a day off. Not good. Andrew Painter, 6.04 ERA, 1.48 whip, 4.82 expected ERA. I predict he's a monster next year. But he's certainly not this year. And when you take a look at his mugshot, he's hard to back. Let's roll. We have his last start. Andrew Painter was his best start of his career. He went 7 strong, allowed 1 earned run, struck out 8, didn't walk a batter, and 12-3 win at home versus the Cards. This is a problem. I mean, again, like, do you want to buy him at this high? Now, are people going to look at his last start at home versus Cards? Because now he's coming out. Now he's going to be on the road, which he was pitching better on the road than he was at home. Are they going to say, look, Painter's got some confidence. He's going to move forward. If they look at his numbers overall from a statistical profile, he's a gas can. It's interesting how you're going to look at him. Because the start before this at the Twins, he got lit up and smoked. I don't want to trust him here just because he looked good in that last start. Joseph Gomez says, hit us with the white cheddar play of the day, man. I ain't got white cheddar play of the day. I wish I did for you, Joseph Gomez. We'll see if there is a play today in the card, though. We got Reed Detmers here, 4-8, 3.62 ERA, 1.06 whip, 3.33 expected ERA. We got Reed right where we want him, at home, right where we want him. Now, his last start was on the road and he didn't allow a run. Start before that at home, he was spectacular. That was a difficult start for him too. Now the books indicated that the under was the bet when he went up against Mackenzie Gore for the second time in 3 starts, and they both pitched great. But it's tough going up against any lineup twice in 3 starts, and he allowed 1 earned run over 12 innings. The Phillies are hitting lefties hard right now, which is a concern, but look at the teams that Detmer's been able to shut down, and look at the teams that have got to him. He's a very trustworthy pitcher. We had this huge advantage earlier in the year because his home numbers were bad. He got blown up in a few home starts, and if you looked at the statistical profile, you would say, oh, he's much better on the road. Look, I knew that wasn't the case. We knew that wasn't the case. He just had a couple starts where he got blown up. So, look, I love backing Reed Detmers, but I don't want to fade the Phillies right now, and I don't want to back the Angels sticks, and I don't want to back Painter on the road. If I could trust Painter on the road right here, we'd probably like the under. Rod Zwacky says bet under the total Reed Detmer starts when pitching in night games on his record during 2026, 16-3. Let's talk about these bullpens. I think that the Angels bullpen's going to come back to earth at some point soon. They're still pitching well, though. 3.67 ERA, 1.37 whip over the last 30 days. Phillies bullpen, 3.93 ERA, 1.31 whip. When it comes to the sticks, Phillies versus lefties, 271, 755 OPS. Angels versus righties, 222, 621 OPS. And look at the trajectory of the Angels versus lefties. The Phillies versus lefties. And even the Angels versus righties. I mean, even that's gone way up. Huh. This just doesn't all correlate. Now, not everything's going to correlate. Let's see if the line history can help us here. We have an 8.5 minus 125 to the under. No help there. It hasn't moved a cent. From a money line standpoint here, we have a move towards Detmers from plus 127 to plus 116. That took 10 hours to happen. This line came out at 1:41 p.m. Plus 127 for the Angels. It didn't move to plus 116 until 10:45 p.m. Nasty Nate. Oh man, they'll be better. They'll be ready to go tomorrow night. They'll be better tomorrow night. By the way, you guys, we got our guys Wine Time Sports, Dutch Boy Fresh, running with Nasty Nate, Rhode Island this weekend. They were at this beautiful bar on the ocean tonight, eating lobster, looking good. Looked like a dope night. Let's get into the price difference first 5 full game, and we expect it to be a big one, a mighty price difference here. We have the Angels are plus 124 full game, first 5 plus 108, 16 cents. Again, the teams now I imagine that Detmers could shut down any team right now. Maybe that's it. Maybe we just trust Detmers, but god damn. are the Phillies destroying lefties. They're just destroying them. Let's take a look at the cash flow. Maybe that will help. The cash flow here for the interleague action. 55% of the tickets and 93% of the cash on the Phillies, and this line's moving towards the Angels. 94% of tickets on the over and 94% of cash on the over. And Circus got an 8. Wow, Circus hanging an 8 here. They opened it up at 8:49 p.m. 8 juice to the over. Jerry Davis, great to see you. Rod Zwacky says Painter 0-3 with a 70 ERA in the interleague play. Look, you're not going to be able to find a good stat for Andrew Painter. Every stat's going to look like trash. The only stat you could say is he allowed 0 earned runs in his last start. That's it. Mark Stowski said, when I looked at this game, everything read over, and I don't like public overs that look that easy. And yeah. See, not to me. I wanted unders immediately. I've been high on Painter for a long time, but again, realistically understanding that he was probably going to be Emerson Hancock of last year, and then Emerson Hancock this year. You know, when I had to, we lost. People blocked me and stopped subscribing to the channel because I went off on their disrespect of Emerson Hancock, and it's good. You know, we don't want him here. Rod says Detmer's sub-3 ERA in interleague play. I would like to trust them. I mean, this is the situation for Painter to have back-to-back good starts. Right. I would like to trust them. Honestly, I'd like to trust them. But you would just need Detmers to get out of that first inning if you're going to be on the first 3 under. I could get to a first 3 under here. I could. But again, it just doesn't quite correlate with the way these teams are hitting. So I'm going to wait to confirm that I'm going to move on this. I mean, do we really trust that the Angels are hitting right now? That first 3 under 2.5 at Caesars minus 120 is a nice price. Wow. I thought for sure I would have action on that one. Let's roll on. Next spot on the board, 9:40 p.m. Eastern. We have the Baltimore Orioles at the Athletics. Our second last game on the card. I got to speed up a little bit here. We have Orioles Athletics, Sutter Health Park in Sacramento, California. Let's get into the weather here for this spot. We have Sutter Health, of course. It's not very offensive tomorrow. Look at that. Wow. Is that the least offensive we've seen Sutter Health Park all year? Oh, we have Arizona, San Francisco up here. We can do that. We can cap the Arizona game and we don't have. Okay, let's do that. But can you get the Orioles Athletics game set up for our next spot? Diamondbacks Giants is what we're going to do. Oracle Park in Sacramento, California. We expect that Cole Drake is going to pitch here. We thought Cole Drake was going to pitch today. Looks like he's going to pitch tomorrow. We were right about Cabrera. Cabrera pitched really well in San Francisco, and why wouldn't he? Now, it's a little different with Cole Drake because Cole's last 2 starts in the minors have been atrocious. And we don't even know if it's going to be Cole Drake. And we don't even know if it's going to be Blade Tidwell. We expect it to be Drake versus Tidwell. But maybe we should wait a little bit on Cole Drake and wait to hit this, in the morning. But Cole Drake had a nice start. God, it's hard. I guess I'm looking at him with rose-colored glasses. 11th round pick in 2022 draft out of Walter State. He wasn't pitching very well at Reno, and then he got to pitch in the show August 1st and August 6th. In those starts, they weren't very good. 7 2/3, 5 earned runs, 7 strikeouts and 2 walks at the Guardians at home versus Padres. Then they sent him back to Reno, and he got annihilated in 2 starts. But this is a place where he should pitch well. Oracle Park, with run-suppressing weather, plus 3% runs, minus 17% homers, plus 21% doubles and triples, plus 6% singles. It is warm, as you can see with the weather bar. It is warm in San Francisco, warmer than usual for a night game. So we expect it to be Cole Drake going up against Blade Tidwell. Blade Tidwell's coming off a beautiful start at the Red Sox. Can he come home and follow that up? Last time he was at home, he had a great start versus the Astros. Oh, sorry. The last time he was at home, he got lit up by the Rockies. Start before that. For some reason, I thought that was in Colorado. Start before that, he shut down the Astros at home. I don't want to buy Tidwell High ever. You know, he's never put together 2 good starts in a row. Now, he was really good at AAA Sacramento this year. He's a second-round pick out of the University of Tennessee in the 2022 draft. So in the show, he's got a 3.58 ERA, 1.16 WHIP, 3.24 expected ERA, but he's never followed up a good start with another one. I guess I take that back. I guess that the August 4th, August 10th, I guess he did. DJU, yeah, no, we're not. It's not for the Chargers. It's for the Rams. We need Caldwell out there. I knew it was gonna be DJU in the second half. It's the Rams who we need to know who's at quarterback. But look, let's find out if it is Cole Drake. Let's wait a little bit here on this one. I don't feel like we need to get into too much here. Let's move on to the Orioles Athletics, which we were talking about for a second. Let's move over there. We got to get some confirmation on starters. Here, I think we know who's starting here, but I see that this line's not out at all. Tool Freak. Do I still do shows with Loshak? I mean, he's with this channel. He's my friend. But no, we don't do Loshak in the bag right now. It's not impossible that we never come back to it or anything like that. And Dougie Wise says catch the free bands Osasuna in the La Liga plus half. But yeah, we're not doing Loshak in the bag right now, which sucks. But I still love him dearly, and he's going to be hosting live streams here on the channel, which is going to be great to see. We have Brandon Young at Sutter Health Park in the least offensive conditions that we've seen all year at Sutter Health Park. This is the least offensive we've seen, plus 14% runs, plus 19% homers, plus 10% doubles and triples, and plus 2% singles. We have Brandon Young, 9-3, 3.50 ERA, 1.36 whips, got a 4.37 expected ERA. And every time I think Brandon Young is going to start slipping, he has a nice start. He had a bad start at the Rays, and he bounced back at home versus the Rays. It's tough, we keep talking about how tough it is to see a lineup twice in a row, especially if they're the Rays. I was impressed with this. I told you guys when Jacob Lopez came back from the minors that he was much better than his numbers indicate. Obviously, his expected ERA told us that as well. But I like Jacob Lopez. We have Lopez's last start was very good. It was at the Astros, 1 earned run over 6 innings. Start before that, home versus the Rangers, 2 earned runs over 6 innings. He's not allowed more than 2 earned runs in the start. In how long? 5, 6. He's not since he came back from being demoted. That's how good he's pitching. So, thank you, Tool Freak. Respect, man. I mean, Loshak is magical. Anybody sitting beside Loshak will be part of a good show. He's a magical dude. So, honestly here, Brandon Young is good. I would be very comfortable taking Lopez to go head-to-head with him. The problem is the Orioles are hitting and the A's aren't. And the bullpen for the A's is atrocious. 6.06 ERA, 1.63 whip. Orioles bullpen 3.90 ERA, 1.27 whip. When it comes to the sticks, the Orioles are sitting here 239, 714 OPS versus lefties. That's not a good number. But I've been watching them hit. Now, this is just hitting overall, the 257 right there. I expect they'll be going up against Jacob Lopez. A's versus Reddies, 245, 707 OPS. We have no lines up for this game here at this point, so let's just wait and see and attack mañana, and that will be our plan here. Let's review all action in Major League Baseball right now, and then move on to the NFL. And I didn't come in with action. I was really focused on the NFL and college football here. So let's roll here. Life Ice says, do you feel like fading a team in the 5-hour travel spot, playing back-to-back is an edge or not really? It's a good question, Life Ice. It hasn't helped me. It's never helped me in baseball expecting a team to be tired. In terrible travel situations, we've been told by baseball players that it affects them the second day of the trip, of the series, but it just hasn't helped me. We track all of our action to see what is working, what's not working. And 2 angles that just, over, 3 years or 4 years sample size that just didn't help me was day-night splits for pitchers. It screwed me over. And then expecting a team to be exhausted. We do have an angle there for our last game. Bet against Jacob Lopez in home starts on the run line when his team is off of a win. Lopez team record during 2026, 0-6. So looking over at this card's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work. I do want to invest in the Dodgers-Tigers game, but I certainly want to. Now, Life Ice, what doesn't work for me doesn't mean it won't work for you. That's important as well. It's just putting energy into those angles just did not help me. So I know the Dodgers-Tigers game is a game I'm interested in. I expect a playoff type battle, and I really think that Drew Anderson and every Detroit Tiger will be completely locked in that baseball game. I have some interest in the under, and the market's telling us the Nats are very live here with Jackson Kent. These two pitchers just saw the opposition twice, so I don't find it too appealing. With Astros, Mets, Hunter Brown, Christian Scott, you'd think that'd be a game I'd be all over. I don't trust them right now. Waka and Bybee, I would be on an under in Waka Bybee, first 3 and first 5, but the Royals and Guardians are ripping the leather off the ball. I think it's just, ignorant for me to make a bet because I trust two pitchers when I know the opposition's raking. I want to be involved in unders in Padres Rays, and I have a lot of interest in paying the cost on the Rays first 5. Now, that's dodgy because I've got to weigh the expense of the Rays' first 5 to the ability of the Padres hitting lefties. So I need to sit with that, and I'll do that tonight. The first 3 under 2.5 in Red Sox-Yankees, that I'm interested in. This line move towards the Red Sox is very interesting. And so it's moved so heavily against the Yankees full game. And then there's a 39-cent difference at Pinnacle for the Yankees first 5 with Schlittler, or the Yankees full game. 39 cents more expensive to back them first 5. That's wild. I'm going to need to study that for longer. We have Rockies Braves is not appealing. Too expensive for the Braves. And then we have the Mariners Jays. We need some confirmation because something must be up with Hancock. Something has to be because Cease has been planning to pitch. I'm going to move on the unders in Rangers Brewers, but just first 3 and first 5, I'll move on those tonight. I really love the Bradford Henderson. Now, when Bradford's pitching, look, Bradford's got nasty stuff, but the Brewers are a tough team to go up against. The Twins first 5, I think the books have tipped their hand that trusting Kramer at home is better than trusting Castillo on the road. So I'm going to move on that. And I'll put this all in the Discord, and then I'll put it out on X. The first 3 under and the first 5 under in Pirates Cardinals and the Pirates. Now, I'm going to have to weigh how expensive that is. And the dog of the day for Rod Zawacki is the San Diego Padres. I'm going to have to weigh how expensive, because there's been a massive move to the under. And I may be priced out of it now, and that's okay. So, I'm just, if you sit back and let the market do the work for you, well, then you're going to get the ass end of lines. We need the market to help us, but still you don't want to be sitting there with the ass end of lines. So, great call on the Astros, Rod, and you helped us on the unders there. I'm interested in the first 3 under in Phillies Angels, but again, it's like that Guardians Royals spot where, yes, I trust the pitchers, but the teams are hitting harder than they've hit all year. And if it doesn't correlate, we don't have to invest in it, So I'll have to make that decision. Here, I like Reed Detmers in that spot. And that is our MLB for Friday, August 28th on our final nightly bag. All right, we got to move quickly here through NFL. That took a long time. We'll be much quicker in the morning show getting through those MLB games. But let's get right into it. 6 p.m. Eastern in the National Football League. Let's see what the score is now here in the NFL. Take a quick look here. Oh, no, 13-7. 7.5 left in the third. Rams have the ball. And the Mercury up 63-61. I could easily be on the Mercury right now, but hard to tell if they were going to take this seriously. And but again, one thing we've talked all about with the home and homes or the 2 games in the same barn, I believe that you can't back the team that won the first game, ever. You can only look at the team that lost the first game or didn't cover the first game. And if you don't like them, don't bet it. My ROI in believing what I saw in the first game is horrific. I've stopped doing it. I'm old enough to understand what wasn't working. But again, that's my ideology. Not everybody needs to use it. All right, Washington Commanders, Baltimore Ravens. We're at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. 82 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 2 miles per hour winds. Pretty nice weather. We have Dan Quinn going up against Jesse Minter. This is a pretty interesting spot. Oh, yeah. We're starting with Commanders Ravens here. Beautiful. And we can, Commanders Ravens, and we can, beautiful. We're money. Okay, so let's get into the line history and the cash flow here. Line history, and I have interest in fading the public in this spot. Line history is, we know here that everyone's going to be on the Ravens, and everybody is on the under. And there's reasons for it. So let's discuss it. I've not moved on this game. With all of the money on the Ravens, they opened up at -2.5, and then 5 hours later, 2 hours later, they were a 4.5, 2-point move towards the Ravens. Then it bounced down to 3, back up to 4, bounced all over the place. Now we're down to a 2.5. We're right where it opened. Now don't forget, we pushed the button on the Browns today, and that stayed at 2.5. That line went against. It can go against your football team, but if it doesn't hit that 3 threshold, you're live. I believe this total is now a 33.5. God, and everybody and their mama, every article, everybody on this under. Man Bear Pig says Ravens very similar to the Bills today. There's a lot. Great analogy there. Great. So let's get to the cash flow for this first NFL game here. We have. Sorry, I guess I got to move over to NFL. Here we go. So we have 54% of the tickets on the Ravens. I guess so. I thought they were more public ticket wise, but they're not. 54% of the tickets and 93% of the cash are on the Ravens. 71% of the tickets on the over and 82% of cash is on the over. Londo liking the over too. I am astonished here that 71% of tickets are on the over and 82% cash is on the over. That may make me slam the brakes. I guess what I got confused at was that every article is on the under, but the public is still betting the over. Wow. System now for AM 5-0 in NFL preseason. I love it. Your angles on the Steelers game were beautiful, AM. So the under's gone 4-0 when these two teams have played so far in the preseason. Jaden Daniels is not expected to play. Mariota is sidelined with an injury, so it's Kalik Manis and Sam Hartman, and neither have looked good at all. And you'll see that everywhere in they haven't thrown a TD pass. They haven't looked good at all. Well, same with Dylan Gabriel, right? And we backed him. I like betting against what everybody's just seen. Now, you don't just want to be contrarian. You want to have an angle behind it. We had the perfect angle for Gabriel. Big Boogie Boy says blind bet every underdog in preseason. 9-2 last Saturday and Sunday, might be 4-0 today. But blind bet every underdog on the spread. But I love that, Boogie Boy. That's working. So the Commanders' defense has looked good so far. Now that's not a surprise. It's a surprise we've watched the Commanders play the last couple of years, but not a surprise for a Dan Quinn team. I mean, we know that he's a defensive-minded coach. And they got destroyed in the joint practices all week. They're missing a bunch of starters due to injury, and their offensive line is so banged up. So it's not going to be easy for them. For the Ravens, Lamar Jackson is out, so it's Tyler Huntley and Joe Fagnano. And Fagnano looks incredible. I mean, this guy's been 37 of 48 passing. I was like, who is this guy? He looks great out there. And the Ravens' defense has been so good. They've allowed 10 points so far. 10 points. So the idea here that the Commanders have played 2 games, both have gone under. The Ravens played 2 games, both have gone under. Jesse Minter saw everything he needs to see from this defense. Everything. Which made me want to bet the over. He doesn't need to see anything else. I thought the same thing about the Bills. Now, you can't stop a winning team from winning, I guess. We did cash with the Steelers plus 3.5, but you can't stop a winning team from winning. Here, the every game going under, I thought the public would be all over the under. The public's on the over. And this line is going down to 33.5. And everybody is on the Ravens. And this line's come all the way back to 2.5. Now, do I want to sit there with Kalik Manis and Hartman and expect to get paid? I don't know if I can. I don't think Huntley will be in for that long either. It might be the Fagnano Express once again. So at this point, I'm going to stay off of the spot here for Commanders Ravens, and we may not, we may not get back to it. But AM says betting against teams who previously won by 10 plus points now and now at home. Isn't it the other way around? I thought it was very profitable doing that against the spread. Oh, yeah. Can you hit me with that again, AM? Because I thought if I pull up here, so let me know. Bogey Boy says book's trying to get us to bet small favorites, not falling for it. AOD giving his final score 17-13. So at this point, I don't know if I move on it, but what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to quickly 1 minute touch on games that we capped the night before, just so that we can let everything marinate and see and make sure that we don't miss something. Let's move on to a game that I think should be bet. 7 p.m. Eastern, Atlanta Falcons 1-1. 1-0 on the road. The Miami Dolphins 0-2, 0-1 at home. We're at Hard Rock Stadium, Miami Gardens, Florida. 86 Fahrenheit, clear, 6 mile per hour winds. Kevin Stefanski as a head coach is 8-8. Jeff Hafley's 0-2. This is going to be a rough year for Stefanski, for Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator. Good God, are they in a world of trouble? But they'll get the number 1 overall pick next year in the draft. This total sitting here at 36.5 has not moved. From a point spread standpoint here, we have a 1 point move towards the Falcons. But I don't want the Falcons full game. I only want the Falcons first half, and it's not available yet. I expect the first half to be more expensive than the full game. More expensive. That was the record of the teams that are coming home. That made sense. That made so much sense to me. So this is one of the angles that got us on the Steelers. So in the NFL preseason, teams that won the last game by 10 plus points and now at home have struggled, going 76, 118, and 4. So that's 39.2% against the spread, and that is the Ravens in the first game. Okay, I got you, Robert Cherry. I will copy and paste. We have the coworker NFL parlay here. Let's get that all copied and pasted so we can discuss it here. Thank you for sharing that with us. But let's keep capping this Falcons-Dolphins game here. And then let's get to the cash flow here. Cash flow-wise, we have 56% of the tickets on Atlanta and 84% of the cash on Miami. This is interesting. 60% of tickets on the over and 79% cash on the over. This is very, very interesting. So let's just hit this. So Stefanski says he's going to play all available starters. He's called this a dress rehearsal. So Tua Tagovailoa will start at quarterback for the Falcons against his old team. That's big. That's big. He wants to attack the Dolphins at Hard Rock Stadium, his old stomping ground, in front of his old team. This is, there are going to be first quarters available for us. Now, we've been told that Tagovailoa could also play the entire first quarter, and then Cooper Rush and Jack Strand. Cooper Rush and Jack Strand have looked really good. Now, they did just destroy the Colts. When they did, Rush and Strand combined for 300 passing yards, almost. It appears this is going to be a horrific year for the Dolphins. Horrific. But they have something to prove here. And the Falcons don't. But Stefanski is using it as dress rehearsal. So Malik Willis will be starting. We don't know how long. We've been told that Quinn Ewers is going to be in there for the longest here. Nice job, Jerry. Hey, man, wherever you get that cash, go get it. So Ewers is going to get the bulk of reps. So we're going to see Malik Willis for a drive or two. We're going to see Ewers for a lot of this game. We're going to see Miller and Gronowski as well. This team has scored 10 points so far in the preseason. Honestly, as soon as Tagovailoa is out, the Dolphins probably should be live bet because they're going to really try here to get a little bit of positive momentum, whereas the Falcons aren't. Now, I know that Cooper Rush and Jack Strand have been playing at a high level, but they're going to pull everybody, and they're going to get really deep. And that's why this line is not moving too big. And I expect the first half line to be more expensive than the full game line. And we'll have to wait for that. So that is the plan at this point here. By the way, AM says since 1990, 29 teams have had a win total under 5. Those teams are 16, 11, and 2 to the over, going over their respective win totals by 0.76 wins per team. Last year, the Saints and the Browns was at 4.5, and both went over. That's interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so the Falcons first half or first quarter, because I think this is it. I think in the second half of this game, the Dolphins are going to try and the Falcons aren't. And so we need to manipulate the situation for that. Let's talk about 7 p.m. Eastern, Texans-Panthers. I have bet this game. This is the only bet I've made. I got the under 36.5 at minus 110 2 hours ago. Let's get into the line history here for the Texans game. We have a 1-point move towards the Panthers. They've gone from +1 to a pick 'em. And on the total, I see 35s and a halves and 36s. This was a 36.5 until 12 today at BetOnline. I believe the 36.5 is available right now at minus 110 at Bet365. So let's get into this spot here. Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina. D'Amico Ryan 7-5 in the preseason. Canales 3-5. We have heavy thunderstorms in this game. Okay, they're messing. They're not going to go away, right, Londo? We got a chance. We have heavy thunderstorms, and it's very interesting. Not a lot of people are talking about it here, but we have heavy thunderstorms right when this game is supposed to go. D'Amico Ryans has ruled out C.J. Stroud and the rest of the starting line. No starters are playing. Davis Mills, Brett Rippon will be a quarterback, and they've been annihilating the Panthers in the joint practices, and it's been dominant. Now, this is a situation that we've seen so often in the preseason. The team that's getting dominated in the joint practices has been winning these games, especially when the line slightly moves towards them. Now, there's no question the Texans have way more depth on defense than the Panthers, but there's also a thought that D'Amico does not care this year. He came into the preseason 7-3. Has it helped him? Has it helped his team? Has it helped their starts? No. He's 0-2 this year, and they've completely dominated every joint practice. This is exactly what we saw with 49ers Chargers. The Chargers annihilated every joint practice against the 49ers, who were banged up and beaten. And then the line moved very slightly toward the 49ers were dogs. Then they became favorites, at a -1 or -1.5, and they destroyed the Chargers because the Chargers didn't have anything to prove. They'd been beating them up all week in practice. I think something similar could happen here. I'm on the under. I'm not on the Panthers yet, but it's well within reason. Canales says Bryce Young is not playing, and none of the first-team offense will be playing. Haynes King is hurt, so it's Kenny Pickett and Kyle Trask expected to split quarterback duties for the Panthers. There is a belief, I believe, in the betting market that it is Kenny Pickett that's going to deliver in this spot, that it's Kenny Pickett who is going to bring this team to victory. And it's an interesting take. Let's take a look at the cash flow here. We have 50% of tickets, 75% of cash on Houston. And the legal books all have this at -1 or -1.5 for Houston. It's the offshores that are moving this towards Carolina, and we expect the legal books to follow suit. 70% tickets on the over and 79% cash on the over. And I don't think that will happen here. This is a system play here with the Texans -1. System play. Panthers just blew out the Jags. Yeah, that is a concern. So I'm going to copy and paste that here. I wonder if that can get me off of the Panthers, because I think that a system play that I would like to start working on is the team that gets annihilated in joint practices that moves from dog to favorite. But I mean, and who would take the Panthers over the Texans right now? But I think this total is going to drop. I think the storm that comes in is going to bother people and concern people. I think it will Like there's a 85% chance of rain, precipitation there, right at the hop with the storms. So we'll see. I'm on the under. I could get to the Panthers. Could. Could. All right. Let's roll on. Robbie Cherry says the Panthers have second string defensive tackles that'll move mountains this week. They'll have the experience to be a force to reckon with once the starters come back in the event they get injured again. That's from Robert Cherry here. Let's roll on to our next spot on the board. That's Giants Jets, MetLife Stadium, Rutherford, East Rutherford, New Jersey. 78 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 3 miles per hour. Of course, Mr. John Harbaugh, now the coach of the Giants. 49-17 overall is his preseason straight up record. 1-1 so far this year. Aaron Glenn on the other side. Let's take a look at the line history here for this spot. We have over here. Here we go. We have a total of 37 not moving. Not moving a cent, sitting there at 37. From a point spread perspective, we have the Giants, the line moving towards the Giants, 17-cent move towards the Giants, from minus 105 to minus 122. Let's see when that last move happened. It's been happening tonight. The last move is 2 more cents. So it appears that a 3.5 could eventually end up on the board here. AM's on the Giants -3 with the system as the Jets are coming off a big win. Man Bear Pig says, I'm a big Giants fan. And I think they'll go far this season. That being said, this is a Jets spot. Jackson Dart and Jameis Winston are both going to play quarterback tomorrow. Harbaugh has not given us exactly who's going to be in and out of the lineup, but he plans to give Dart at least one series in this preseason finale. Then Jameis Winston and then Brandon Allen will split the remaining reps. It's tricky here. The reason why, Harbaugh wants a little bit more time with Dart is because, he's bringing in a brand new system for the team. And also, though, he's got to balance that out with, he just watched Calvin Austin tear his ACL. So that will do two things. That would make him be a little nervous about playing starters. But also now there's, an opening at wide receiver. So there's going to be a lot of people fighting here at wide receiver. Aaron Glenn has said it's up in the air, but the expectation is that Geno Smith won't play. I mean, he looked so good in that last start. So the expectation is Geno Smith won't play, and it'll be Klubnik for Zappi. Brady Cook could close the game out. Klubnik looks pretty good, man. He has looked pretty good. So with all of this being said, I agree. The Jets did everything that they had to do in that last game. And the Giants have a lot to still work on. And now they have, I agree. I agree. I think this move towards the Giants makes sense. The Jets don't have really anything to prove. They probably feel good about that last game. And, it's going to end up with Brady Cook. Now, if it's Brady Cook versus Brandon Allen, I guess you could say that's a wash. I agree. Let's look at the cash flow. Cash flow wise, 56-89 on the Giants, and they're a strong favorite. 54 on the under and 53 on the over. It's not moved. That makes sense. This is, I like this look. And then the idea is we move on the Giants tonight at -3, and we wake up tomorrow, and it's 3.5, and we feel good about ourselves. Speaking of feeling good about ourselves, looks like the Mystics will take care of business, so backing all you guys up. The Giants went off on the Diamondbacks late in the 8th inning, so that's not good. So it'll be a 3-3 game here. And the LA Rams are now in the red zone. This all feels good. Jerry Davis just moved on the Royals and Angels first 5. Thank you for sharing that with me. I will copy and paste it and review it. All right, let's move on to... So that is the 4 preseason games. We're going to do the other 6 tomorrow. Now, we are not going to break down those games again. We'll do a very quick touch on those games. Like, again, we'll just say, hey, we'll show the graphic. We'll say this is the plan. If you want to see the breakdown, check out the Nightly Bag. We're going to focus on the other 6 games in the morning show. We're going to move quick. Let's move on to our first college football breakdown of the year. It's back, baby. Cheers. It is back. Coffee still tastes good. Shouldn't be drinking coffee after midnight, though. Swiggy says, got to get them ready for Dabby's Saturday college football show. Let's talk North Carolina Tar Heels. We're in Aviva Stadium in Dublin, Ireland. North Carolina Tar Heels at TCU Horned Frogs. Now, every article you read on the game says, oh, it's going to be wet, 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 wet. From my study, it's going to stop raining right at kickoff. Now, the field will still be wet. When will they uncover it? Now, again, let's take another look. We know that it's 5 hours ahead. Dublin's 5 hours ahead of Toronto, or 5 hours ahead of the Eastern time zone. So let's take another look at the Dublin weather here. So when you click on Saturday, it says full rain, because that's what you get all day. Full rain. Full rain all day, all morning, all afternoon. Afternoon, you start getting the rain showers instead of rain. And then at 5 p.m., no rain. Now, look, everybody and their mama is on this under. Everybody and their mama is on this under. Jerry Davis got the under 48, so he destroyed the movement. And he's on North Carolina plus 9.5, which I'm very interested in. It wouldn't shock me if we see a 10. Now, our guy, Wine Time Sports, messaged us. And he said, you got to get on this under. If you can get a 48 right now, bet it. And I couldn't. It was 47.5. Now it's 46.5. Let's go over this line history here and the cash flow. Let me move over to NCAA football. This is the lone college football game that we are going to be capping today. We'll hit another one tomorrow. When we get into the line history here for this spot, we have nines across the board. I only see 9.5 at Heritage. Oh, and MyBookie for the offshores. This opened up at 6.5, and it's been one-way traffic towards TCU. One-way traffic. Actually, that's not entirely true. There was buyback about 6 days ago. Interesting. I didn't realize that. And then it started hammering again towards the Horned Frogs. I'll pull up my Horned Frogs hat. The total is a 46.5. And it has dropped from 50.5. And we know that all of these games somehow have ended up at 45 points. All these Dublin games somehow. So this is Bill Belichick's second season in control, and things are a mess. Steve Belichick, the defensive coordinator, has some medical issue. He's gone. Their general manager is on administrative leave. And they need Bobby Petrino to get this offense together and rolling. It's a new offensive line, and they're working with Billy Edwards. He redshirted at Wake Forest before moving to Maryland, then Wisconsin. Now he's here at Chapel Hill. Everybody remembers what happened last year in this first meeting between TCU and North Carolina. TCU annihilated Belichick. 48-14 in Chapel Hill. Embarrassed them. There's a lot of hope here. They got the Harvard transfer, Jaden Craig, who they expect to succeed at this level. Sonny Dykes is a great coach. They are working with the new offensive coordinator, Gordon Samus, who comes over from UConn. And then, of course, both teams are using new quarterbacks. And again, look, I'm not sitting here just, wanting to be contrarian for contrarian's sake. I want to say, don't we expect Belichick to, even despite Steve being ill and the manager on some administrative leave, don't we expect Belichick to be everybody talking about what a trash college coach he was and what a terrible job he did? Don't you think that he's had a whole summer off to get revenge on the team that embarrassed him publicly in front of his home fans? And then also, we have all this heavy move towards the under, but now it's not going to be raining at kickoff when every single article you read says, oh, it's going to be extremely wet. All these games go under. Every game in Dublin ends up at 45 points. This game's going to go under too. Jerry Davis said he got that 10.5 last night. It's back to 8.5 at most places. Man Bear Pig says he wants North Carolina money line on the spot, and Man Bear Pig's got just giant balls that are scraping toilet water every time he sits down. But I don't. I'll take the points. And when's the right time to move on it? And then Jerry's saying it's now. Jerry's saying it's now. AM says since 2000, week one of NCAA, neutral site games between two FBS schools have gone 82, 120, and 6 to the over, recommending an under bet. Yeah. In every single place, in every single site, and every single person is doing that. Is recommending an under bet. Oh no. Oh no. Rams got there. All right. Not good. I think I messed that up in my head. I think I thought the Chargers were driving. So let's take a look at this cash flow here. Because if I want, I get the idea. Do I want to cloud this up? 53% of tickets are on the over and 51% of cash is on the under. I'm surprised that there's 53% of tickets on the over. All I hear from everybody is under. Hard Rock's moved this to a 45.5. And you're right, the 9.5s don't appear to be here. Circa hanging a 9. Did they ever move it to 9.5? They did. Yeah, the time is now. I think that we could leave the total alone. I think we could. Yeah, no, I know that. I mean, we just talked about that, Jerry. I'm right with you. Now, look, the idea is that their D2 quarterback is ready to be a D1 quarterback in Jaden Craig. And Gordon Samus, I mean, look, UConn did a nice job with not much to work on. Now, Rod Zweig's not betting this game. It's the opener. I don't know if I want to immediately attack this total. I'm surprised that not everybody's. So maybe I'm going to leave the total off right now. But I do want to move on North Carolina. I think there's too many points. And if I'm not going to wait for, if it doesn't appear the 10's coming, then I will be patient and I will wait. All right. So I'm going to move on North Carolina tonight. And 77% of the tickets, 75% of cash on TCU. TCU everywhere I look. I think that there's some Rebenga for old Billy Belichick. All right, so let's roll on to our final spot on today's show in the WNBA. We have Toronto Tempo at Las Vegas Aces. This is the only game we're going to be talking about. Now, this line has moved heavily against me. It sucks. It's moved heavily against me, and I didn't need to bet it so early. I just didn't expect it to move so heavily against me. It appears some books are coming back. Is that right? No, it's just not every book, I guess, moved. What are the legal books doing? I got this at 15.5, which was a blunder. And then it's moved to 13.5. And it's 13.5. But Circus still got a 14.5. Okay, well, I'd like to see that. Okay, that's fine. 14. So it won't be as horrible as I thought. So these two teams just played in Vancouver. They just played in Vancouver, and it was a pretty great opportunity for the Tempo, who are banged up beyond recognition. It was a great opportunity for them to play in front of 16,000 fans. They played Portland first, beat them, and then they played Vegas Aces really tough. And they won. The Aces still won 88-78. Didn't cover, but they won. And they didn't play well. The Aces shot 25% from three. They hit 5 threes. They went 5 for 20. The Tempo shot 10 of 27 from three. The Aces didn't rebound well. They didn't play that well. And there's a problem. And the problem with the Aces right now is Nalissa Smith out for the season. She hurt herself in that game against the Tempo. 11.7 points, 6.4 boards, but she gave Asia Wilson a break, and she also led the league in field goal percentage, 63.8. So it's a big loss. But for the Tempo, they don't have Mabry, Alamon, Sykes, and Morrow. And I was adamant that the Tempo had to be faded against the Seattle Storm. Adamant. And I believe that the tempo should be faded here. That the Aces are going to annihilate them. Now, the tempo play with heart and the losing 3 guards and Anissa Morrow. Now, Anissa Morrow was not there for that long of this year, but losing Mabry, Alamon, and Sykes. Now, Sykes was gone and then came back. Alamon and Mabry, and not having Sykes available, it's down to Kia Nurse and Kiki Rice. You're just asking for too much. Now, I thought AOD that I was going to add the Aces first half. With this line moving against me, I don't know that I will. I even in that game against the Storm, it was the tempo kind of got, they just couldn't put up points late in the game, which is what I think will happen here. So we cashed tonight with the Valkyries. That moves us to 14-2 in our last 16 bets in the WNBA. And I'm on the Aces tomorrow at a terrible line. And I don't think I should double down unless we get back to the opening line at 15.5. Even then, I don't know if I should. We have our action here from Robert Cherry in the Aces tempo game. I'll copy and paste everything because we'll see if there are other WNBA games we're going to talk about. And the John Preston leaning towards the under. I bet my first full game under in like 2 months or 3 months in that game against Seattle just because I did not expect. Okay, there we go, Godfather. Telling me there's a chance. Godfather. So here in this game, we have a combo spot for Robert Cherry. He's parlaying the Aces money line, the under 176.5. He's also got Asia Wilson, 39 plus points, rebounds, and assists. So that is a bit of that's why I wanted to add the first half, is because with Nalissa Smith hurt, Asia Wilson's going to have to do a lot. And if they're up by 20 points, they probably rest her late, which does concern me. So we'll see. I'm already on, though, going for 15-2 tomorrow. I'm on the Aces, and I just want to fade the tempo every chance I can get, especially when they played the Aces so tough in Vancouver. Now they have to continue this long, long road trip. They've been on the road for a long time, down 3 players. So I expect to take care of it. Jerry says these women heading on vacation has me leery of screwing with them. Hey, it hasn't stopped my bankroll from getting thicker, taking care of every mistake I make in every other sport. I'm 59.6% WNBA, and I've never gone 60% in the season in any sport. And I'm close. So close. That is our show for today. Thank you guys so much for running with us. We've gone way over. I've got to put a bow on the proceedings. Thank you all for running with us. We have our guy, Jerry Davis, in the house all day. Noop says Dodgers coming in pissed from being swept. My Tigers are in for an ass whipping. It's going to be a fun game tomorrow. Johnny Preston, AOD, Man Bear, Pig Rod, Zawacki, The Godfather, AM Londo. Thank you guys so much, man. Spoon Dog, many great cappers, colleagues, friends in the chat. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Let's go out there and get that money. Have an incredible trip, Bogey Boy, my man. Robert Cherry, thank you for running with us as always. Now let's go out there and get that shmoney. I will see you guys in Manana. This is our final nightly bag, putting a bow on the proceedings. Thank you guys for running with me all summer long. Now we move on to mornings only. Ron Young, thank you. The Wiz, thank you. Now let's go get this money. Thank you to Swiggy on the 1s and 2s. And let's milk these bookies, man. Leche! Hey, los bookmakers. Milk it. Milk it.
It's easier to sleep in the black when you're losing your ass and feeling so. You know what to do. Tune in to Pop Sports Radio. Easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. It's a roller coaster ride, you're gonna catch a bad beat. No problem, keep your head up and just bet the spreadsheet. It's easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. All thanks to Jeff Slaughter, these shows have our backs. The OD's always rolling, especially the stack. Easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. We got Jimmy, Jose, Debbie and the fam, Dutch wine time, Spooner and OG Wham. So hit the like button, don't say that you can't. If you know what's best, just put your money on tape.